Maybe.
Probably.
Not sure. And this time we watched The Gorge of Deception.
Or Recollections of My Mother, Howl Magalguman.
Fantastic. And we also watched Falcomon, Friend or Foe.
Or The Alley is Falkman, Violent Blastman.
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 Blastman. Woo! For DigiNews this week, I'm again going to be on the With the World podcast this weekend, so we won't go too deep into DigiNews. However, there's just one bit of DigiNews that I'm very excited about, and I've been very, very excited about it this all day, is that this morning I woke up to the news that Digimon Lynx is going to be released in English, and you can already pre-register for it on the Google Play Store on Android,
What,
which
you
I did.
pre-order this Digimon deodorant?
I hate you so much.
I legitimately don't know what you're talking about.
Digimon Lynx is another free-to-play garbage Digimon game.
Oh my god, there's so much free-to-play garbage.
This one's a little better than Digimon Heroes.
God, Digimon is garbage, isn't it? That's why no one
No,
would pay for
no.
it.
Well,
Except you.
it is better than Digimon Heroes, and it uses the same graphics as in Cyber Sleuth, so it's not terrible. It's not the align the cards thing,
How come they haven't just, like, ripped it off and made Digimon Go?
because they're above that.
Are they?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
You think free-to-play hard garbage game is somehow above Digimon Go?
Well, at least that they're doing imaginative ideas, and it's their ideas, and they're not ripping off someone else's idea. Also,
Are you telling me that other game has not been made a million times and this one just had a Digimon skin on it?
no, Digimon Lynx looks pretty unique. And
I don't mean Lynx. I don't know what Lynx is. I mean whatever the other one was.
Digimon Heroes is just generic free-to-play.
That's what I'm talking about. The fact that there is generic free-to-play means they don't have that we need to make a unique game morals.
Yeah, but...
The only reason that you said they wouldn't do Pokemon Go is because it'd be too obvious.
Yeah, okay. They also get cease and desist, like, instantly.
Not necessarily. You wouldn't call it Pokemon... You wouldn't call it Digimon Go. You'd call it Digimon Went.
Oh my god.
Which would be an accurate reflection of the tide of Digimon fandom. Oh, it went.
That's a strong one, I have to admit. I don't know where it went. It's just... Maybe it was never there to begin with.
It's just you when you're imagining everyone else. All the letters we get for this show, you send them in and I just don't know.
Yeah, there we are. All of our listens are just me listening to our episodes over and over again in repeat. Just sitting there like Deku in the first episode of My Hero Academia when he's rocking back and forth, excited to watch all
Accelerating infinitely.
That's me. That is me when with our podcast. I'm the only listener. All of our patron supporters are just me.
You send out the show to all the quote-unquote listeners and then you just whisper to yourself, do not worry, I am here.
Yeah, what a good anime. And for NewsLatelymon, first of all, there's been a new milestone that we've met, and I'm going to be adding a new milestone shortly, but I haven't made the post about it as of we're recording now, because we're recording on Thursday, and I was going to do that, but I haven't had time to add it yet. But the new milestone will be every so often we will release it. Well, by we will mean me, and I will have a guest host on, like another friend that's not Jay, because I do know other people. And we'll be watching what the fandom considers the best episodes of Digimon. And what this fandom best episode of Digimon is judged by is a survey that I'm going to be releasing once Atmon is finished. And hopefully that survey goes well and lots of people answer it, not just listeners of the podcast. I plan to spread it as much as I can.
Spread this like wildfire.
Yeah.
Which is a really awkward thing to say nowadays, what with the half of America burning.
And half of it underwater.
Yeah, I mean, that part doesn't make the wildfire a bit awkward.
Poor America. And also, America has Donald Trump, so America's just not doing too well at the moment. So yeah, I'll be sending that, and hopefully it goes well, and that'll be the milestone. So we're watching whatever people consider the best episodes of Digimon with guest hosts I think it's a month. I already wrote up the post, I just haven't published it yet, because I haven't gone around to it.
Well, Donald Trump truly is the Digimon of presidents, isn't he?
Hey,
It's okay, George Bush is the Pokemon.
Okay, that's fine.
Because now that we have...
Wait.
Because now we have this one, we're like, oh man, I really wish we had Pokemon back.
No.
You look so full of despair.
No.
I'm just messing with you.
I know, but no.
It seems to have worked.
Nah. Come on. What's Dogimon's then?
Dogimon's is Ted Cruz.
No. You cut that out. Dogimon's is an institution, Jay.
What is he then? He's the EPA, run badly, but needed.
Dogimon's is the Abraham Lincoln.
That doesn't make any sense at all. Are you trying to tell me that Digimon assassinated Dogimons?
Yeah, you don't know that. Maybe Dogemon's came first.
I don't think it did.
Maybe Digimon killed it. I don't know. But the point is, Dogemon ripped off Digimon.
I mean, obviously.
So that means Digimon is a good anime because people only want to copy what's good.
That's
I rest my case.
that's okay.
And as I mentioned, I will be on the With the Will podcast this weekend. So look forward to that. And I will be tweeting about it, like retweeting the With the Will post about it. And we also got a bit of art. Yay! It's from Ambermoto, and it is referring to what I said in the last episode, which was when Cherrymon says, my bite is not as bad as my bark. What was it? No, my bite is much worse than my bark.
Yeah, because it's covered in bark.
And I made a joke about what if he just started to bite Agumon and started to nibble on him. So Ambermoto drew that, and it's really, really cute, and it made my day because I saw it when I was at work.
You're like, look at this thing! And I'm like, is there any context for this at all? And you're like, I love it!
Yeah, but it was literally what we were talking about, so it was great. I love it. So I will always accept art that references our podcast. It's great. So thanks for that. And on to Obnoxious Synopsis. The first episode that we're watching this week is called The Gorge of Deception, or Recollections of My Mother. Howl, Mac Galgamon. What do you think will happen in this episode?
So, I'm thinking that, like, obviously we're going to have a Toma-focused episode in which they go into the Gorge of Deception, which leaves them with, like, illusions and stuff, which is going to play with their self-doubt, and it's going to give you a bit of character moments and stuff. And one of Toma's things is we know that he's worried about not having a family and whatever, but he'll remember, oh, my mom loved me, though, and that the power of love will get him through the valley of whatever, Majigarunoni.
Right.
Also, he will evolve a Digimon and have a fight at some point.
What do you think the monster of the weeks will be? Any guesses?
Come on. Wait. We're in a big foggy valley, presumably. Spiders? What's the one from 02?
Dokugumon.
I was thinking more Arukenimon.
Ah, okay. Well,
But
Dokugumon evolves
also
into
good.
Arukenimon.
Spiders.
Anything else, or just spiders?
I don't know, dude. Digimon are weird. They suck.
Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode? And you're allowed to say that you don't like Toma, because I can tell that you're liking Toma more now.
He's better.
It's almost like he's getting some sort of growth of
You know what
character.
will annoy me? Before he gets his character growth, Yoshi will be like, I'll handle this, and Sunflowmon will be like, no, we got defeated! What happened?
Sunshine beam! Ho! Sunshine beam! Ho! Sunshine! Ho!
Stop that.
No, I meant to be winning. I hope she gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she does. I've already seen the episodes. Ooh. Do you think it'll be a good episode?
I think it'll be alright.
Better than the Geogreymon to Rise Greymon episode?
I don't think it has as many opportunities for plot holes, since it's essentially like filler. We have to get to the end of this, evolution arc episode.
You can't call evolution arc episodes filler.
It is, though.
They're not filler.
It is.
Do you think it'll be a good episode?
Let's be on the optimistic side of it and then regret it later.
See, I'm glad that you're optimistic, because in the episode that we recorded last night, episode 119...
This is like, Savers sucks now.
Yeah, you were very negative about the whole Savers thing, but so it's good to see that you're a bit more optimistic, which is good, still. Please stay optimistic. I thought these episodes were both much better than the episodes we covered in 119, but I guess we'll get to that soon. What rating?
7.
Filler or not filler?
Not technically. Only for reasons of you evolved somebody is it not going to be filler.
Okie dokie. And the second episode that we're watching this week is called Falcomon, Friend or Foe, or The Ally is Falcomon? Violent Blossomon. What do you think will happen in this episode?
So obviously this doesn't give you a lot of information there, but we're going to have a bit more input on the Almon's motivations, and Ikuto probably. And at some point, Yoshi's Digimon's going to evolve for whatever reason. Yeah, I don't know what's up with Falcomon, and it's not really clear, and there's no indication going forward, so I can't really give you any good predictions on this.
Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
It would just be like oh my god, humans are the worst thing ever. Also, we've only seen you 3 times ever in our entire lives. Just my continuations of my complaints from the last episode.
So you think that they'll explain, or at least hint at, why they hate Digimon they hate humans so much?
No, that's exactly why I think I'd be annoyed, is that they would fail to do so.
Do you think it'll be a good episode?
You know what? Probably not.
What rating?
Like 5.
Oh no, that's not a good sign. Filler or not filler?
Again, technically no.
Okay, well, I guess on to the show then, unless you have anything else to say.
Nah, bro, let's go.
Let's go. The start of the episode starts up with something that we haven't seen for quite a while. And it's the kids walking through the desert.
Joyous day.
Did you miss it?
No, not at all.
I missed it. We get it back. We get it back.
Did you actually miss it?
No. But, it's like, I almost felt like they were giving tribute to previous seasons.
I would almost think that if the desert wasn't hilariously boring.
Well, it's a desert.
No, but like they can make deserts interesting. Even the adventure deserts were interesting. They had stuff in them, like telephone poles. This is just flat ground.
It's plain. It's a plain. Like, it's just very basic.
Plains have grass on them, so it's not a plain.
It's desert plain. Plains in Magic are just very boring and plain. It's a plain. That's why it's called plain.
Tons of plains of Magic have like buildings in them, and they're really cool.
Yeah, but this one's not. This one's just ground. I mean, it had some digital world weirdness where it had like weird colours going on.
Yeah, but that wasn't part of the desert. That was in the sky.
Okay, yeah, but it was still, you could still see it was the digital world. It wasn't, the desert didn't look real enough to be.
It was lame. Just accept that it was lame.
Well, I liked it, but I still.
Because you like Digimon for reasons I can't understand.
I still think that the Digimon Adventure had the best desert because of the phone boxes. And I think Tamers actually had the worst. Because it didn't even have that sort of... unless you looked up to the sky and you saw like the weird stuff going on, it was still desert.
Or the satellite dish rocks.
I think Frontier was okay with the desert because it had Bergamon in it.
I can't remember there being a desert in Frontier.
Yeah, but they went through a sandstorm and then they found the Bergamon village.
Is that what happened in that episode?
Yeah, because Takuya uses his goggles.
Look, I have to take your word for it on that because I do not remember.
Yeah, well...
Frontier is slowly being erased from my memory and not fast enough.
That was quick.
Not fast enough.
Agumon is complaining and Masaru asks how far away they have to walk. Thomas says they have to return to the real world where the portal is, and the only way to do that is to go to where Marukimon's portal is.
Masaru's just like, I just want to punch some guys.
Yeah, he's just saying, well, I just want to fight Marukimon and then we'll go back. And Thomas like, well, I guess you're not wrong. Like, we do have to fight him, presumably. And I like this. It's sort of, Toma doesn't make any sort of snide remark of how he's intelligent and how Masaru is not, because they're friends now. He just sort of says, well, that is true.
It's not, though. I can't believe they've never considered diplomacy as a viable option.
Nah, Masaru's there, punching things.
No, I get that, but like, Toma should be like, hey, chill out, guy. Maybe we can talk to him. They never address that as a possibility, because it's a Digimon show, and Digimon shows you fight the Digimon.
Yeah, it's always fighting.
But even though if you were to, say, come across a foreign nation you'd never met before, you might communicate with them and try to understand what they want and talk to them.
Yes.
And do diplomacy. And war is your last option.
But why would you ever want to do that when you could just punch a bad guy? Just right in there. Just punch him.
Because the bad guys can all teleport into your cities and blow you up with their magic powers. Maybe it's worth talking to them.
But what if they would do that and because you tried talking to them?
There's no way you could know that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's more likely they do it because you punch them. We do find out soon enough it's a revenge story on the side of these Digimon, so it's probably the fact that punching happened in the first place.
Definitely punch Digimon. That is how you solve things.
Oh my god, you'd be the worst at this.
The Digimon
I would be so disappointed.
The Digimon are angry because humans have been killing Digimon. We should probably kill Digimon.
Obviously.
They come across a city, and we find out that it's built sideways, and this is what I love about the digital world. Like, this really sort of random, like, oh, it's a city. Oh, but it's sideways. It's great.
This is actually pretty good. The question, obviously, is it two cities?
I think it's just, like, I think it's one city, but I feel like they're just grown on the walls.
Yeah, but they're on two different walls, right? And the valley's wide enough that the city has an end on each side. So the question then is, does the city go all the way to the bottom and then sort of become upright for a second, then go all the way back up? Or does it stop at some point on the way down and there are actually two cities facing each other?
I think it's bottomless.
That means there is no connection.
Yeah, you're right. It's two cities.
Yes!
We solved something.
But that's okay because the city's irrelevant. Because the only reason the cities are there is to have something to stand on. Because it's the valley of... the Gorge of Despair.
Yeah, but who cares? It looks cool.
I have a question for you, in fact, about this.
Yes?
Because we find out very soon. The reason... It's only called the Gorge of Despair in English, right?
I swear they mentioned it once in the original, but I could be wrong.
Well, I definitely know it's the Gorge of Despair. No, it's officially known as the Gorge of Despair in English.
Yes.
And I can't think of any reason for it to be called the Gorge of Despair, except that Metal Phantomon makes you feel despair.
Yes.
But does that mean he's been there since it was named?
Yes.
That's insane.
When he was a little Bakemon.
But then he wouldn't be despair, because he wouldn't have the same powers.
Well, he has similar powers.
Not really. Wouldn't be despair. It'd be like spooky.
Yeah, he's a bit spooky.
Should we call the Gorge of Spooks?
And then he becomes Phantomon with the Gorge of Puns. The Gorge actually evolves with him.
Oh, that's dumb.
It evolves with his superpower.
It was a little farming town when he's a Bakemon.
Yeah, he was like, woo, I'm going to eat your bananas.
Little farming towns don't have bananas, May.
Well, they have Digimon bananas, which are the weird Digimon ones that they had in
It tastes like meatloaf.
the Bakimon episode.
I don't remember that. Slowly erasing it from my memory, May. Slowly erasing
It was the one with Bakimon lose your power.
I remember that part. That I'm never losing.
Yeah.
I just remember them dancing and then Sora playing a helmet, which is also a beanie.
To be a mantra.
Ruining it forever. So yeah, I don't know why it's called the Gorge of Despair, but I guess they didn't care because despair happened in the episode, so it must be what it's called always.
While the characters are looking at the Gorge of Despair and the buildings, there's like sort of some background music in the original. In the dub, Tom is explaining how anything is possible in the digital world, and I'm like, well, yeah, he's not wrong.
How would he know that?
Yeah, there's also that, but it's also, I guess it's because it's the digital world. You can just sort of say, well, it's digital, so it basically everything can exist the way it can because of someone's programming.
But he doesn't know the rules that way. He couldn't know that.
You're right.
They don't know that Digimon are digital. They actually don't know that.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Do they know? Because we've had in other seasons, they've introduced the idea of the digital world being in computers and in the internet, right?
Yeah.
But they've always told them that in the digital world. From the human's perspective, the digital world appears to be another dimension, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, what gives? There seems to be so much stuff in Savers where they go, well, you've watched all the other seasons of Digimon, so of course this is the way it is.
Well, this is only in the dub, this line.
Speaking of only in the dub, is pointed out in an email that we got, well, in a message we got, which I want to mention just right now.
Yep.
Apparently, I just missed it somehow. In the last episode, I think it was, or whenever episode they were talking about Mercurimon, and they say in Japanese, oh, he's the forest guardian or whatever. And the second one, they say he's the rule of the digital world or something.
Yeah.
When Toma is saying, oh, he must be trying to rule the digital world and the real world, in that same conversation where he says that stupid thing, he also says, oh, and he lives in Infinity Ice Ridge.
Oh.
So he somehow knew that beforehand, and even though they have teleporting technology, do not just go straight there.
I think I just trust this show too much. I'm sort of like, yeah, all right.
No, because you have the exact thing they're exploiting, which is you know everything about Digimon. Why would you question this? Because this is what it always is. This is our formula. But the problem with Digimon beginning again every new season is that the rules are different.
Yes.
And what's awful about that is it's unfair for them to be like, but this is the rules, right? Digital World is digital, it takes with computers, and this is how Digimon react, because they have other things that don't react the same way. Are Digimon genderless or not?
You're right. And it would make sense if in this universe the humans had been to the digital world like many, many times before. But from what we know is that they've been there once, and it was pretty much a failed expedition, and they lost a dude. They wouldn't have had time to write down and give places names.
Absolutely. And the only possibility that I can see is that other humans have gone there. But they have been so unwilling to talk about, like, in any sort of detail, other DATs, like wings and branches, that I don't think there are any. Like, not that... I think they exist. I don't think they've done anything of any sort of note.
Or the writers just didn't feel the need to give them anything.
Absolutely.
Which I'm really sad about because, as I've said, I don't remember much because I watched all of this in a very short amount of time and not a lot stuck. But I don't think that they address the other DATS factions, and that's something I'm kind of disappointed about. I feel like, I mean, not in the way of like Digimon World Tour, like that Zero Two did, because that was not entirely enjoyable.
No, that sucked. But like, you don't need it to be a look. This exists, and then move on and not be important forever. But just introduce them and then have them be part of the story.
Yeah.
There is an element coming in this episode though, and we'll get there. Where I know we established because they asked Jeff Nimoy about whether or not they knew what was going on ahead of time in this season, and he said that they did. I suspect, and we have a huge message about this, but I suspect for another reason as well. Either that's not true, although it is probably true, or they just forgot stuff as they went.
Yeah, which is possible.
But it's so weird because the original Japanese is aware of what's coming.
Yeah.
So the fact that you would change things to make it wrong is absurd.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It still seems strange to me that like the subtitles wouldn't just be your script.
However, you could just say that Toma is just wrong. Like he's just assuming this information that he got from somewhere, but it's not 100% accurate information because no one knows for sure. I
don't mean just that though. I mean like taking into account the 7 deadly sins versus which just naturally influences Digimon, and the Digimon are feeding intentionally off human emotion, right?
Yeah.
In the letter we're going to read it probably at the end of the show. I think we got it just today though, so maybe it's next week.
No. I wrote it down before we started recording.
Then in the message that uses that as an example of like the show works differently because of this. And if you knew how it worked in the future, you'd know it would be stupid to change it.
Yes.
And yet they did.
Right. But I feel like they could have easily fixed this.
Yeah, by using the subtitles as a script. It's just that Jeff Nimoy wouldn't have had a job.
Alternatively, if you just said, right, Toma has... The Austrian faction of DATS knows more about the digital world because they've studied it more, or they've actually done multiple expeditions there and know different places.
Oh, for sure.
And they've given this information to Toma.
But there's so many... Again, though, if you knew this information, just put the portal in his house.
Yeah, that too.
And, like, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Because they're not aware that they need to have all of the Digimon evolve, right? They don't know that. So they thought they were already prepared to fight him.
Yes.
Just go straight there.
But they have to have evolution arc first.
But they don't know that.
Well, they all know the script. Toma actually has access to his to the script in his laptop.
This show is entertaining, which is more than I could say for Frontier. But it's weirdly the opposite of Frontier, where Frontier was boring and awful to watch. Mm. And we always said like it has a reasonable foundation, and then it uses it off. It uses it really badly.
Frontier has a great foundation,
whereas Savers is fairly entertaining to watch, but its foundation is trash. It is built on a big mountain of trash that is constantly falling over.
Well, which one would you prefer? Because I prefer a good show.
I prefer it to be entertaining to watch.
Yeah, because... And you have to say, like, hey, you have a bad foundation, but you managed to make something good. Well done. It's like Atmon, like, well done. You somehow made the most annoying premise actually one of the best seasons in Digimon. Congratulations.
And it's like Lane, where you go, I absolutely understand that you have a really great premise and a really great foundation and your themes are great. But there's like half of your episodes are so boring. It's like unpleasant.
As I said, I feel like it would have been better if we watched Lane all at once, or if we just read the manga. Apparently the manga's really good.
I did suggest it. I'm always going to bring it back. Whenever you say that, I said we should do them all at once. And you're like, no, that would be too much work. And now you know how we feel.
But I'm also really bad at paying attention for more than like an hour at a time.
But we'd be doing it in chunks, right? We'd watch the show, we'd do an episode, watch the show, do an episode.
No, I still feel like I'd die.
No, I know that, but then we could do 6 in a row, and then we could do it another time.
Okay, I guess maybe.
Once a month is really difficult for watching this kind of show.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're not talking about Digimon, though. That's so good. I'm glad that I keep maneuvering you into this.
No, don't do that. Then the characters are going to climb the buildings, and they're climbing down with a rope, and Agumon cuts it while they're still descending on the rope, and it's really cute, and Galmon's just like, you were meant to wait until we're all down, and Agumon's like, oh, okay.
That makes sense, I guess.
In the dub, there's actually some dialogue about how when Agumon is cutting the rope, he's like, oh, I can cut this now, right?
It weirds me out that Masaru went down without a rope, and then it cuts to him climbing down a rope. Like, it just materialized below him somehow.
I took that they jumped onto the first one because it was closer, and this is actually another one that's further down.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
but it's less funny.
That's just what I got. Okay, Masaru just like, oh, right, I'm falling now. Can someone please drop a rope?
Can't use my escape rope.
They will fall faster than me for some reason because that's how gravity works.
There's the ghost-looking virus thing from
Kuramon.
From our war game.
Yeah.
And like, oh, look at that guy. That probably shouldn't be here. Is Willis here?
Willis is here.
Is Willis coming? Is he like Ryo? Did he switch universes?
He's actually Marukimon's true identity.
Oh god, not Willis.
What if Willis was Ikuto? Or if Willis was Masaru's dad?
Could be Ikuto. Ikuto's English sucks.
Oh, that's right.
So Ikuto, speaking of which, is watching them all in a big magic pool, which isn't that what the evil legendary warriors did? Have a big...
Mercurymon watched it on his reflection in the mirror.
Right.
And Ranamon watched it in water because she was water.
That's the one.
But that's I believe the only times that we saw characters from the evil spirits watching the kids. But I guess that... I didn't make that connection, but I see what you're saying.
It just looks familiar. Familiar?
Similar. Familiar. That sounds like a bone in your body. The fimula.
It's really close to the fibula.
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
So there are big spiders and they attack.
And this is when we did Obnoxious Synopsis, I was going to die because you said, I bet Takugamo would be there, and I was like, how? How?
It just seemed like a spidery name. And that's the only spider I know.
But no, you actually thought it was Arukenimon.
Oh yeah, sorry, no.
And then I was like, Takugamo, you were like, oh, that's a spider too. That one then. How did you guess that? How?
Because you told me it after I guessed spiders.
No, I said, do you mean Dakugumon? Because when I think spider Digimon, I think of Dakugumon anyway. How did you guess, in general, how did you guess spiders? Because you weren't even watching me.
It seemed like a spider thing.
I mean, they weren't the main boss.
I would have otherwise guessed ghosts, which it turns out also would have been true.
Yeah, if you said ghosts and spiders, I would have flipped the table over.
I only thought it'd be spiders though, so, oh well, I guess I was only half right. So they basically all get captured, right?
Yes.
But Yoshi gets captured first. That's important, because she's the worst.
Oh, I didn't even notice that she got captured first. I think that's because I try not to.
And then they all fall into the valley and die, presumably. Wait, no, they just go to sleep. Because, you couldn't have just let them drop to their death.
The true baddie just makes you take a nappy nap.
Yeah, exactly. And it hangs them up, and the Digimon are all in this net, which they will be in for so long with no one looking at them. It will go from, oh no, they're trapped, to comically, why aren't they trying to get out of this net?
And they do later on, quite easily. I know it's because Galmon evolves, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so it's...
I feel like...
They literally never try.
Surely the fire one would try to set fire to the spider web.
Yeah, and then have a comedy moment where Galmon's like, no, stop that.
However,
I'll die.
The thing is, I didn't think that
I
that
can't
would be...
beat it because I have boxing gloves.
Yeah, I didn't think that would be actually a thing to do until you actually suggested that it was a dumb idea that they didn't move.
They even tried to escape.
It was like, oh, we are powerless without our human. They could have actually said that, like, I can't. Or maybe they were too scared. They should have actually added something.
In fact, we know later that if you just move the humans a little bit, they'll be out of the ray. So if Agumon had just shot the ropes holding them up and they fell, they would have gotten out.
Or if you just try harder, you'll knock yourself out of the effect.
So all the humans go to sleep.
And I just want to say something. Metal Phantomon, besides being probably one of the coolest looking Digimon.
He's got a weird staff, but otherwise, yeah.
I really love him.
What's his voice? He's got a really...
Oh, I was just about to say, in the dub, he's Trubimon.
That's it. That is his voice, yeah.
It's great.
I know exactly that sound, but I couldn't remember who it was.
It's a good bad guy voice.
It is.
He's done quite a few bad guys.
No wonder I couldn't remember it was Trubimon. Because, again, Frontier slowly disappearing from my memory.
I think he's also been in some video games of some
I wouldn't know about that.
I think he might have been in Kingdom Hearts.
Also, you can tell it's a Tom-centric episode because he's the last one to fall asleep and he resists the hardest.
Yeah, he's struggling. And also Galmon is shouting out the loudest.
Yeah. So Metal Phantomon shows up and he's very big. And then in the Japanese, they talk about how he takes people's souls. And I have a very interesting question for you.
Did you see it coming?
No. How are there souls in the digital world? If you're made of data, what's your soul? Is your soul rendered into data? Or, are you not just a big block of data?
That is actually a very good question.
And then even better, in English, what is heart essence?
You never see it coming.
No, seriously, what is heart essence?
I don't know. It sounds good though.
So it seemed to me that in Japanese, what they were saying is he takes your soul and then you become like an empty shell. Like you just sit there, because that's always sort of like the trope, is just stare off into the distance and there's just nothing left. In the English, they've just said you become a zombie.
Basically.
The wording was the walking undead, but yeah, legit, they're like, you become a zombie.
He's basically doing what, isn't it like the Dementors in Harry Potter do?
That's what the soul suck thing from the Japanese version is, yes. Except that it's much faster.
You said Japanese version of Harry Potter?
No, the Japanese version of this.
Oh, right,
with the soul specifically.
Yeah, it just reminded me a lot of... They're called the Dementors, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So each of the kids basically has like a worst nightmare thing.
Should just eat chocolate.
To get like a thing. And Masaru's he is fighting an infinitely respawning and multiplying poo monster while Chica is being kidnapped by a Dromojimon, and he's upset because he does not win the fight. And then we go to, and the one I really noticed as the difference between the English and Japanese, and specifically with regards to did Nimoy see a head in the season or not, is Yoshi's.
Yes.
And Yoshi's is, when she's on the ground in Japanese, it's like, oh, mom, dad, like she's upset with her mother and father specifically. In the English, what's the wording? I've written it down because it's so... Mom, my sisters, all of you, I hate everyone. She doesn't have anything after her dad anymore. Like, I mean, he's part of probably all of you.
It's mainly her sisters, yeah.
So it changes the focus there. And to me, it went from... To go from your parents to your mom and your siblings tells me that the conflict that will be part of her story later on, either... they just don't know, or is so unimportant and vague that we're never going to have this character characterized well.
Weirdly enough, in the original, they had piano music over this scene, meaning that maybe it has something to do with piano, like someone's playing the piano.
There's like no way I could have picked that up.
In the dub, they remove the piano and have some generic background music.
I mean, if the piano's relevant later, then yeah, sure. There's no way that I could know that without knowing the future. So I assume, from what you've told me, is that piano is then important in the future.
Well, yes, but I wanted to say that was the difference.
Okay, because there's no way I could have known that. Because that's a thematic element that can only be important in hindsight.
Also, while we're talking about the dub differences, in Masaru's one, the dub removed some impacts, like they just added some flashes of light when he was hitting the Numemon, and I don't know why, because they're just slime.
No, you can't punch them though.
It's just a weird thing to remove, because they haven't always put impact flashes in on his punches when he's punched bigger Digimon. I just don't see why he's put it on the slime monsters that don't look like anything.
You know what weirds me out?
What?
When Yoshi sees her young self being sad, she legit starts crying. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh no, now I'm really sad.
It's trauma. Also,
no, I get that, but like,
Masaru's the only one who it seemed like a dream. Yoshi and Toma both saw their child selves.
Well, they weren't memories. Although I guess what's funny about that is that implies Masaru has no bad memories.
He has no trauma.
He has no trauma to overcome, because all he's done his whole life is fight people, and he loves it.
And his dad sort of went away, but like we've already covered
He has no trauma about that. He's just, it just happened. It's fine.
Yeah.
His mum looked after him.
I mean, I think he's sad that his dad's not there, but I don't think it doesn't impact his emotions. He's just kind of like, I guess I'll just find my dad.
But we head to Tom's dream/nightmare, which is important because it's his episode essentially.
Just before we get to that, sorry, I just wanted to say that Galmon in the dub seems to know a lot more about Metal Phantomon and starts like explaining what kind of Digimon Metal Phantomon is. It's kind of weird. Because in the original, he's kind of like, he's doing this. And then in the dub, he's like, he's doing this because this is what he does. And this is the Gorge of Despair. And this is where he lives. I'm like, who told you, Galmon? I thought you arrived in the real world as an egg. How do you know anything about the digital world?
Because Tom's a PhD doctor. He's
a
double doctor.
And he told him about the digital world that he's never been to.
Yeah, he knows that Mercuriumon lives in Infinity Ice Ridge. And we should definitely not go there first for some reason.
Maybe he got his PhD in Diginomics.
In Digidestiny. It's all foggy in Japan in this version because it's a dream, which is hilarious because that entire thematic element just goes away later because I think it was hard to animate. That's my theory, because why would it just stop?
Also, he himself and his mum go from being like ghost-like to actual looking like people.
I think it was just probably difficult and annoying to put together, so they just stopped bothering.
Also, it could also be that this was what Phantomon was showing him, and then the other part was more like because he was sucked into whatever Phantomon was doing to him, his despair caused the memories to become more vivid.
There is no evidence whatsoever for that theory, because the only evidence we have is that Phantomon controls the entire dreams.
Yes.
And even getting to the end, we know that's the case.
Also, how would you even steal Masaru's heart from showing him the sister being kidnapped by Dromojimon?
No, because his despair is that he loses. It actually has nothing to do with her getting kidnapped. She's just the MacGuffin that he's chasing after.
I just think it's
losing is what his despair is.
He doesn't have any traumatic memory of himself. His thing is like...
It's actually hilarious.
He just has kind of a bad dream. Like, Yoshino and Toma just have PTSD flashbacks.
I think this is perfectly descriptive of Goggle Kids.
Yes.
Because... what's Ty's backstory?
He's worried about his sister, and he made his sister play football.
He's worried about his sister, huh? Well, he's worried about his sister, but it's not like
Daisuke wasn't.
Daisuke's got nothing. It's got nothing going on.
He liked Kari.
And like in his past, there's nothing.
Takada was fine.
Takada has nothing in his past. None of them have any history defining them because they're all self-insert characters.
Yeah.
Whereas every other character has something. Ruki has her whole backstory with her mom and them arguing. Honestly, to be fair, the other guy from that gen is mostly that he liked playing Digimon when he was younger.
He liked Digimon a lot. He's me.
And his thing was mostly defined by his dad.
Yeah.
Joe has his whole weird studying craziness.
And his anxiety about, just walking in his brother's footprints and in their shadow.
Yeah, and Izzy's adopted, and Mimi's parents are weird.
But love each other.
And go to America all the time. And Sora's mom is is always pushing her to follow the family business. Everyone has like a story except the Goggle Kid, who's always like nothing.
Yeah. But Taichi has probably one of the most characters out of the...
He's the best character development.
Yeah. Because Takagi is kind of like, he's a cinnamon roll, then he has a bit of a temper tantrum, but he's still a cinnamon roll at the end.
Whereas Daisuke is crap.
Haru's still great. Haru's always great.
Haru is really good. So we see young Toma, who's really, really happy. And then all of a sudden, because he's remembering, and you see his mom dying from an unidentifiable illness or injury. It involves head bandages in some way.
Which, in the dub, you don't see the hospital scene. This is cut.
I just didn't notice.
And what you see instead is just Toma's crying face and the beep noise.
Wow, okay, that sounds like he died.
No, it's a flat line, and he's crying.
If you watch that, just like he would be the one who died.
Yeah, but you don't get the hospital scene or anything, or the emotion from that scene. And that's kind of like, not sure why they cut that, because it's already said, oh yeah, the mum died. But they don't actually use the word die in the dub, and they cut out this scene that shows her dying. And they even later on cut out when the van is coming around the corner, and in the original you visibly see his mum push him out of the way. And they cut this in the dub, and you just sort of like, you just see the van and Tom is on the street crying.
For me, it was the sound where the van in the Japanese goes and you hear the crash.
Yeah.
And then it was just
yeah, it's not as...
And you turn around and says, oh, something bad happened.
Yeah, kind of like... Is anticlimactic the wrong word?
That's the right word.
Because it's like, it just seems like, it wasn't that bad.
Oh no, she's dead though.
Yeah.
So Tom can't interact with him because he's a ghost, and he acts really stupid considering how smart he's supposed to be. Like, you'd be able to work out the rules of this world instantly.
No, I love this because it actually shows him he is a really smart guy. This is how frantic he is in this moment. This is how sensitive he is to this moment. This is why this is his weakness, or this is his traumatic moment.
But like, the problem is it's unrealistic for what they've been trying to tell us about his character. I get that he's emotional about it.
Yeah.
But he's not an idiot.
I think,
and they're portraying him like he's an idiot.
No, I think this moment is making him an idiot because of his emotions, and he's letting his emotions get in the way of his intelligence and his own common sense. Like, he's like, of course this is a dream, but he wants to stop it so much, and how much he wants his mum back.
It's too extended for me, I think.
I think that it's warranted because these are his emotions, and of course he's not thinking clearly. No one can think clearly if they were going through such a traumatic memory as this.
Well, just, you remember it, and you're like, oh, this is what happened. I can't interact with it at all.
He's actively there. He's not just remembering it. Remember, he's actually there. If you were watching something happen, and you were physically standing there, and you even had the sights and the sounds of actually being there.
Okay, yeah, but I had 100% verifiable evidence that I could have no impact on this scenario whatsoever because I'm a ghost.
I still think I'd try, especially if I was as emotional as Tom is right now.
Oh, well, I guess I'm not that emotional.
No.
I just wouldn't.
I think it's fine, but also in the dub, young Thomas is Izzy and Lucamon.
Yeah, I thought his voice sounded really familiar.
But he's actually also using the Terriermon voice.
I thought he was Tommy.
No, Ikuto is Tommy. Well, Keenan is Tommy.
Is he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Izzy, you're right. Izzy / Lucamon / Terriermon.
That's funny. You got me. I didn't know what you were talking about for like a second there.
Yeah,
so
great.
Thomas finds himself in front of the truck. It doesn't go, and then he's sad, even though he knew. But then he's like, I need to retain the good memories of my mom, and that will break me out of the spell. And people don't actually die if you remember them.
See,
you keep them close to your heart, and then your parents will still be with you.
I thought this resolution was kind of like a bit too fast, but I feel like they only have 20 minutes to show an evolution and backstory, and also give some backstory to the other character as well.
Do you know how you would do it differently? You would introduce his trauma in an earlier episode.
Okay, that's fair.
And then show how it affects him.
Oh, no.
And then resolve it now.
They did. They totally did. Remember all the times where...
No, I don't mean...
He was with Masaru's family, and he stood up and left.
No, I get that, right? But I mean, it doesn't mean anything to the audience if it is introduced and overcome this episode. You sort of knew something was up, and you go, oh, it was his mom. Okay, I get it. And now it has introduced the problem to you. The fact that it is overcome in the same episode, just because you can look back and see, oh, I get it. Subtle hint here, subtle hint there. I understand it now. Is not the same as having a journey.
Yeah, okay, no, I kind of see a point. But I don't know, I'm still saying that they did sort of introduce it, so it's not coming out of nowhere. However...
I never said it was out of nowhere.
However, imagine this.
But it was too quick, is what you said.
Yes. But I still feel like it's still one episode. So imagine if when they're taking Chica to the theme park.
Yeah.
Imagine if like maybe there's a part of it that looks like a festival, and Tom all of a sudden has like some bad flashbacks.
I don't know why, because you never see the festival in his flashback.
But you see some people in Yutaka.
Is that how it's pronounced? That is Yukata.
Oh, it is Yutaka. I bug it up.
Motorized.
I'm just really tired.
Yeah, me too, man.
It's really late at night, and I have to go to work. And
I have to go to the gym after this.
Yeah, and I have to wake up in a couple of hours because
Why do you wake up in a couple
I
hours?
still want to do some pre-editing stuff tomorrow morning because I won't have time tomorrow.
That's stupid. You're making a bad decision.
Yeah, but I will. I'll do it.
Just do it Saturday morning.
Yeah, I don't have enough time with other stuff I've got on.
What other stuff have you got on?
Watching Digimon and also organising my notes for Atmon.
Don't watch them on Saturday then.
It's the only time I have time.
Oh my god. Sunday?
I'm going out to lunch with my parents.
That'll take the whole day. Yeah, you can't watch 40 minutes of Digimon.
The Digimon say that they should believe in their partner's strength of their hearts. In the dub, it's believe in their life force. And I'm like, just use your fire.
Believe in their life force is so lame.
Yeah.
It's like saying believe in their hair. Oh, they have it. Believe in it.
Toma tries to tell his mum to stop and can't. And then, he was like, oh, but memories though. And I'm just like, while yes, I do find it a bit kind of short, it's just like, oh, as I said earlier, they only had 20 minutes. And you know what? It's a fine episode.
They could have done it better by introducing it earlier.
Yeah, but they could have done that with a lot of things.
Yes.
In all of
Digimon. That's called good storytelling,
yeah.
which Digimon sorely lacks.
A lot of our complaints about basically every character in Digimon backstory is fine, but it should have been referenced earlier.
You know what introduced things way earlier than resolve them in good time?
What?
Atmon. You remember when it really introduced the fact that Ray loves his brother, and then when it pays off the fact that he loves his brother and they finally reunite and everything, it feels good?
Yeah.
Remember when we introduced how Eri works really hard as an idol, and then when it paid that off, it feels really good?
Atmon's good.
Yeah. This could have done that, because this is a perfectly effective emotional medium, but it has decided, nah, dump it all in this episode. Because you know what will feel probably pretty good?
What?
When Masaru reunites with his dad, because they set that up way earlier.
Do you think it'll happen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because they do not even entertain the idea that he might have died.
I'm honestly surprised no one said, but what if he's dead?
Nobody said it, because they know he's not. And not they know, but the writers know, and they go, meh, why not?
I feel like anyone's missing in an unknown land for 10 years. You kind of go, they're dead.
Absolutely, with no human contact or infrastructure or anything. Dead.
Or maybe not a way to find food. Dead.
And he wasn't... He was like a dog. He was like a professor or something. He wasn't like a mountain man. He doesn't know how to take care of himself.
Yeah.
But he's fine, though. We also know that he's totally fine. Because it's Digimon.
But we also know he may be punchy, and that's where Masaru got it from.
That'd be funny. Although, I think you said you'd prefer if his mom was like that.
I actually decided that a better way to do that is that they're both punchy, and they met each other in like a gang brawl.
And that's how they made the ultimate puncher.
Yes.
Because the punchiest.
And Chica is somehow moderately normal for now.
She'll grow up to be punchy.
She grows up and joins a girl gang, and like a motorcycle gang, and has like the jacket on with like the flowers.
Oh, this is too much. Let's move on. So yeah, basically Tom breaks out and evolves his Digimon, and then he wins.
And becomes a wrestle.
And that's cool too. But is there anything important that happens in that fight whatsoever? I think the answer is no.
Well, I noticed that in the dub, because he's skipping 2 lines of evolution, like he goes from child to adult briefly, and then
that
goes
was strange.
In the dub, he says, Galmon Warp Digivolve 2.
How does he know to say that?
I don't know, but it's in the original, it's just Digivolve, or just Evolve.
Well, it says perfect evolution on his Digivice.
Yeah, and he keeps that in the dub as well.
But why does he know to say the words warp evolution?
It's the same in every season. How do you know to say armor evolution?
I complained about that.
Yeah, it's always the thing. How does the Digimon know what to say?
But sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes it says like warp evolution because it's the system saying it and not the kids. So when the kids know to say it, that's weird.
Yeah, it was always evolve in Tamers, and then the D-Arc would say the type of evolution, like
that's
Matrix
what I mean.
evolution.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Whereas this is not like you've just made this up, I guess.
But it's fine if it's still evolve, but yeah, the Digimon itself in the dub says warp evolve, and this is the first time I've ever heard warp evolve, I believe, to not go to your fully evolved form. This is just a perfect.
Well, it's warp evolve obviously just means skip a form.
Well, in this case, it does. Masaru and Yoshino get freed, and Masaru punches Tokugamon. And then, Sunflomon's finally useful, and actually just, is about to use a Sunshine Beam. Like, well, this is going to miss. It kills, like...
half the spiders.
I want to say half, yeah.
It does really good. And then Tom nearly dies as he just stands perfectly still while Metal Phantomon whips attacks around him.
And magically, none of them hit.
Yeah. If he'd been vaguely accurate, Tom would just be dead.
Yeah.
And then, what's his name? Galmon does a punch.
Mac Galgamon.
Mac Galgamon.
And he's great, and I love him so much.
And then Itsuko looks really surprised that they
You mean
survived.
Ikuto?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I wrote it down wrong. Ikuto looks surprised that they survived. And then they get out of the valley and Yoshi collapses because she's sick.
Yay.
Which we find out. Whoa, you're happy about that, huh?
No. I'm just happy Sunflamon did something.
I wrote down Sunflamon being useful was too much for her.
Oh, woof.
Like, she can't handle it.
To be fair, like, well done, Sunflamon. Like, because, like, you've had some bad runs, but you made up for it. You probably have killed more Digimon than, I want to say, Galgamon has.
No, probably not. Galgamon did that one fight. It was like, yeah, beat this in 15 seconds and, like, beat, like, a bunch of dudes, didn't he? It was like 2 minutes.
I don't know. I don't think so.
It was early.
I still feel like Sunflamon has the highest body count at the moment.
Yeah, you're telling me that Agumon doesn't have a better body
No,
count?
I think Sunflamon.
That is huge lies.
Clearly, we need to rewatch
That
all the
is
episodes.
huge lies.
She kills
beat
a lot
like
of spiders.
5 dudes.
She kills a lot of spiders.
Like 5.
I think it's more than that, but never mind.
It's really
a lot.
not.
It's a lot. It's a lot of spoders. She killed a lot of spoders and she didn't miss any of them.
Okay, she got 5 or 6, and Geogreymon got like +4 just for beating the Vilemon and the 3 Demi-Balls.
But
And he
Sunflamon-
wins every other match.
Okay, Sunflamon killed the most Digimon in the shortest amount of time.
I also think, oh no, I mean, like, I guess technically it was one attack.
Yeah, it was one attack in like a second. She's great. I will fight for her.
I mean,
Even though I'm not a huge fan of her design.
I'm sure either that is just not true in the sense that, like, beating that Meramon technically counts as beating like 20 like Demi-Meramon or whatever they're called.
No, it counts as one.
And at the same time,
Counts as
like,
one.
I presumably it will change later.
I want to have some faith in Sunflamon.
How about you don't?
Okay,
How about you just give up?
You know how she has killed more Digimon than Izumi?
That's fair.
Her body count was 2?
Nice.
Kind of 1, because they were the same Digimon. And I guess she defeated some Chameleon, but she doesn't scan them, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway.
What do you think of this episode as someone who is new to Digimon?
That's my answer to you.
Woof, you didn't like this episode?
It was fine. It had a good idea, I guess.
I really like this episode.
Yeah, that's too much. It doesn't deserve really like.
I gave it a 7. What'd you give it?
6, I guess.
Tell me why you gave it a 6 and not a 7. Because
It's just lame.
this was great. It introduced a lot of character moments for all 3 of the characters. Even Masaru got some as well.
Masaru's was obvious.
I mean, we already know he loves
Yoshi's
his
was the
sister.
only one that I was like really fascinated by, and Thomas was, I think, done. I think it could have been done way better. I think it was done pretty much as lame as it could have been done without making it like awful. Like, it was fine, right? But that's all it was, and it could have been great.
Well, it was stuff that we already knew. That, like, he maybe had family issues, and he has something about his mum.
You can't open with it's stuff we already knew. We knew he had family issues. When what you're trying to say is his mom got hit by a truck. Like, that's really specific. We didn't know that.
Right.
So if you want to introduce that, there's interesting ways that could have been done. And I think that the elements that are important, she was trying to protect him, is really cool. I think they could have emphasized a lot more that it was his fault. Because I think it's almost there, which is like, oh, come on, let's go faster. You know, he's rushing her along. I think you could have emphasized that it's really his fault.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. And I think that you could have said, finding out what happened to her is so much less interesting than finding out why it happened. So if you had found out in episode 4 that his mom had been hit by a truck and that's why she was dead, you'd go, okay, that's a thing I know about you now. Okay, so that gets to percolate in your mind a little bit.
Yes.
And then you get here, and if they play it up like it's really just his fault, like he was a stupid child and he got his mom killed because of his like impatience and his actions, it would explain A, his weird character trait about planning everything because he can't be impatient anymore because he got his mom killed, and B, it would be really interesting.
No, that's good.
There's a whole word. There's a word
fair.
for it. Gravitas.
Yes.
About like, oh my god, it was because of him. There is a moment that's like this in Little Witch Academia where if they had introduced it all at once, it would not have been interesting because they set up a thing in episode 1, and if they just told you that's what it was, you'd go, oh, okay. But they let it go for a long time, so you knew the situation, but when you found out why the situation was the way it was mind blowing. And they could have done it, and they dropped it because they're not good writers.
Right, no, okay. I see what you mean. However, just stepping back to Yoshino's information, this is sort of one of the first things that we know about her. I mean, we knew about her thing with Neon, but this is the first thing we know about her character and maybe motivation and maybe some backstory about why she is.
Hell yeah, 15 episodes later, they're introducing one of the three main characters
Yes,
any of
but
their stuff.
in the same way, we can also say we're getting a little bit of her motivation. We know that she had some disagreement with her family.
And that
we know
motivates her in what way?
Well, we don't know that. What I'm saying is they are introducing something that they might address later on.
What I mean is, like, what personality does she have that this could influence?
I'm just saying that you can't just complain about them not introducing Toma's backstory enough when Yoshino is basically getting set up for her backstory in this episode.
Well, there's every possibility this turns out really well. I'm not
And the
saying that
next
was
episode as
bad.
well.
I never said that was bad. I said it was late.
We
but I never said it
effectively
was
get
bad.
2 episodes with her, like, sort of like hints of her backstory in it. This episode and the next episode.
Did it?
She's really, really anxious about how weak she is and apologizes to Lalamon. But I guess we'll get to that
I
when we
didn't
get to the
catch that
episode.
because she was just dying.
Yeah, it was hard. It was also hard to hear in the dub because they actually made her sound really sick in the dub.
Like, if that was a theme, I didn't follow it.
No, it was actually quite good. But I guess we'll get to that when we get to the episode. What did this episode compare to how you predicted in Obnoxious Synopsis?
It's obviously surprisingly close.
Yeah,
I thought
kidding.
that the valley would be filled with like memory fog because that's a good trope. They use it in like Avatar: Last Airbender and stuff. And I thought maybe it's from Korra. I think it's from Korra. And like they and that's a thing that happens a lot. So that's sort of where I pulled it from. And spiders just fit. So the spiders was a cool thing to show up. Couldn't have guessed the Robo Ghost though. It's cool, but I couldn't have guessed it.
I think he's one of the best designs for a Digimon. I love him.
Wow, Digimon designs suck, huh?
No, he's great. Shut up. What was the major difference between the Japanese and the original version that you noticed?
Like, there's the top one for me seems like it would be they change Yoshi's line to have a completely different focus because I think it will actually change how a backstory reads. On the other hand, I guess it has to be soul versus heart essence because it is really different. I know they're just saying them as synonyms, but they're not.
So my differences was the removal of the hospital scene and how we just got present day Toma's face with tears running down and the flatlining sound that remains from the original. And also another difference that I noticed was, as I mentioned before, they removed the clip that kind of implied that Toma's mum pushed him out of the way of the van.
Which
like
is
she
super
saw
important.
the van and she pushed him. And I kind of wish that we had Toma. Maybe that's what snapped him out. He said, "Oh, my mum saved me." Like maybe he didn't realize that because he was so young and didn't see it. But now maybe him seeing it now, maybe that could have been added in.
Doesn't it make more sense, like I was saying before, that knowing that is more traumatic than not knowing
point.
it?
Good point.
Because it's rather than a tragic accident, it becomes his fault.
Okay, no, I see your point. But it's still a thing that they cut, and like I don't know why they cut it. It was kind of like this nice moment instead of this sort of, oh, I guess she's dead. I guess the van hit her.
Yep, a dead parent is required in Western media apparently for a character to be sympathetic.
Well,
not for any reason. They just have to be dead.
Well, yeah, that's really becoming a parent. Get it?
Can we go home now?
The second episode, it starts off with, of course, Yoshino being infected with something, and Lalamon can do something actually quite useful. And she can say the exact temperature of her fever, which is useful, and it's given in Celsius. And in the dub, they change it to Fahrenheit.
Yeah, because America uses a system that no one else does because it's stupid.
Because they're the real hipsters.
I think they're like one of the only countries that uses Fahrenheit still.
I think even Canada, it uses Celsius from memory.
Yeah, I think so too. So Yoshi's like, we still need to go to the ice ridge, even though she's dying.
So then they take her to a cave, and Masaru's stomping around outside saying, "I want to go in. How come I'm the one who doesn't? How come Toma gets to go in?" And Galamon's like, "She is a lady, and Toma has a medical license."
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah?
He has a PhD, right?
Yeah.
So he has a PhD and a medical license?
Yes.
So
You have to go to med school to get a medical license.
yeah, but that's a separate thing from a PhD.
He's
which
got both.
They both of which usually take like 6 years to get.
Yes, he was very, very young. He was Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser was older than 14.
I thought he was 13.
Really?
Maybe he's 12.
Really?
Doogie Howser was very young.
I thought he was like 16.
I don't know. I thought that he was quite
I never
young.
watched it.
I
but
never watched it either. I just get the references. All I know is this Neil Patrick Harris.
I'm aware of that too. Like I didn't think he was like that young because you have to imagine that Toma was like he's 14 now and he's crammed 12 years of late tertiary experience into.
Neil Patrick Harris was 15.
Okay, so he was older than Toma, and you have to imagine he also had a PhD
By a year. He's only older by the year. I think.
and he
it's
had
possible.
another 6 years. So if you minus a year but add 6 years of experience, you have this Toma guy who is apparently so intelligent he could manage all of that, but not intelligent intelligent enough to work out I'm a ghost.
I feel that it was still fine. It was traumatic.
Anyway, so they're suspicious. So Thomas is inside trying to look after her, and he just goes, "Things are too quiet. Masaru's gone."
And it's great. It's just like, things are very quiet. I'm like, that's suspicious. And it's just, they don't even entertain the fact like, oh, Masaru's just quiet. Like, well, Masaru's up to something.
Be.
Couldn't even it's not even possible. Marcus is traipsing around complaining he can't go in. In the dub, Masaru says that Tomo is the same age as him, and Galmon says, yes, but he's smarter. And there's no mention of the medical license.
I feel like they did.
Not here they didn't. Later on in the episode they do.
Must be, okay.
But not here. And that's what I found weird, because later on in the episode they still reference it. But it's almost like it's said in relation to this part here.
Well,
where
it's
not
technically
said.
True.
Yeah.
Like, it's accurate. It's just not what he wanted to hear or needed to. So Agumon, despite Yoshi dying, is like, I want to play in the water. I'm going to splash you.
And Masaru's being helpful. He's saying, oh, I just wanted to collect some water, to be helpful. Like, I'm sick of Tom always being helpful. I'm going to get some water.
Then he gets distracted and starts splashing.
He gets distracted. But to be fair, like, for like 5 minutes, he was being really nice. Oh, another thing we missed out was Thomas says that Yoshino has overworked herself. In the dub, Lalamon says that the dream that Metal Phantomon gave her was too much. So the dub is almost implying that this illness she got from Metal Phantomon and isn't just from overworking herself.
But they're both hilarious big lies.
Yes.
Because if he has a medical license, like, and he's aware of this sort of stuff, he shouldn't be coming to these conclusions without any evidence whatsoever.
But I think it's fine that he's wrong, because it makes sense. Like, why would he have any knowledge of digital world illnesses?
Well, that's absolutely true. But my response to you would be, you don't say this is what it was. You say, oh, it could be this, or it could be this, and you pose possibilities. Or, alternatively, my favorite, if the disease makes her glow with pixels, maybe it's that.
I don't think they can see it. I feel like...
They absolutely can.
I feel like we can see it.
No, I know they can see it because after she infects Ikuto and they become very visible, all of a sudden he goes, oh no, she has a digital virus. Like, he just sees it. So she always had it, but it just didn't show up because plot convenience.
Maybe they just needed a reboot.
Yeah.
Then when Toma and Galmon show up, when Masaru and Agumon are effectively having a very nice little water fight. But again, Masaru did try to help, so I'm not going to hold it against him because he did try. He tried so hard. And also, I just want to say, when Galmon and Toma do go off to see what they're up to, Thomas in the dub says,
I swear he does things just to irritate me. Well, Lalamon, we have to go after them, so I'm leaving Yoshi in your hands.
But I don't have hands.
She holds stuff. She has hands. They're just
she has like arms, but I wouldn't say they're hands.
They're grippies. So Ikuto shows up on an owl.
And you're right, in the dub, he does say human.
Yeah, humans.
Like, he says human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's not, there's no way it could be human. It's human.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, that's a good bit. That he doesn't know what humans are because he doesn't think he is one. So they are humans because I know what Digimon are. You put mon at the end of stuff, and that's the joke of Staccatomon, which is also great. It's another similar way of doing it.
Yes.
Although you'd be suspicious that the humans look so different to each other, given that all Digimon look exactly the same.
What if it actually is human and we are human?
Why would that be real?
We are all Digimon, but we are just all the same species of Digimon.
No, but humans made the digital world by inventing computers in like the 70s.
That's what we think, I guess.
What are the other options here?
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Okay. So Ikuto shows up, and then apparently, just because this is how it works, Yoshi just touches him, and now he's super infected too.
Oh, no, but before that, Masaru and Toma show up.
No, I guess.
Yeah, that's why she's grabbing them, because she doesn't want them to fight. And when Masaru runs in, he says, hey, making a move on a sick person isn't being a man. In the dub, he specifically says sick girl and not just sick person.
Is this implying that neither Masaru nor Toma touched her at all on the way here? I.e. to
I think Toma might have.
Perform any medical checks or to help her walk?
I think they might have carried her, but I feel like it's also very plot convenient that it was.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
You could say it's because she had to be showing emotion while that happened, or she had to touch you. Like, it's contracted by touching you, and she didn't touch them during that time. They touched her.
That's nonsense. Both of those are nonsense.
Wait, no, Ikuto touches her.
But
when he walks
that's not when he gets it.
Yes, but I know. So the only time we've seen her infect someone is when she touches them. The only time she touches someone when she's infected is when she touches him and infects him.
Okay, but is it possible that rather than that being the rule of the disease, that the show is instead just badly written?
No, because I think it's because
You think
she's
they thought
touching
this
them.
through? You think that's how the disease works?
Well, why else are we ever shown her being touched multiple times by Okuto and Toma and not get infected? But the moment she touches someone else, she infects them.
Because the show's badly written.
No.
Occam's razor explains too many things.
I don't think that that's right because the only time she touches them is the time it infects it. So I think you have to believe me on this one.
I don't. That's not true.
Well, it's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. It's fine.
When did she get this disease?
I don't know.
Who touched her to give it to her?
It could also be Metal Phantomon. It could just be she could have overworked it, making herself susceptible to the disease.
He didn't. No one touched her with their
We
hands.
don't. Yeah, but maybe it's contracted in different ways.
So how did Ikuto get it?
By being touched by Yoshi.
Okay, but how did she get it? Was it airborne? Because then it'd be everyone else would get it.
No, we don't know.
Diseases are straightforward like this.
I think it could be because of her anxiety about the image that she was given from Metal Phantomon.
Also, human medicine works on it.
No, it's medicine from the digital world. That the humans had, yes, but I think it's implied that the humans made that medicine.
So it's really stupid.
No, I think it's fine.
I mean, you think it's fun because you like Digimon, but it's not.
When Thomas is talking about the virus, Masaru mishears it because it's an English word, and then he
funny.
does it again with vaccine, and Thomas corrects him. In the dub, he calls it a disease, and Thomas corrects him and says, no, it's not a disease, it's a virus.
Viruses are diseases.
Falcomon realizes that Akuto is sick, and he thinks of Akuto being a young baby and being unwell. We then see Masaru and Toma talking about the vaccine, and in the dub, Marcus, and this is what I was mentioning earlier, still mentions the medical license despite not mentioning it earlier in the dub. And then Lalamon says the worst case scenario is that they don't save Yoshino, which is basically Lalamon accepting the death of her partner.
Can we also talk about how if he has a medical license, he's really, really bad at medicine? You wouldn't have a vaccine for a virus, right?
They do in Digimon.
Because isn't a vaccine to develop an immunity?
No, I think, when you're being vaccinated.
Yeah, but you wouldn't vaccinate someone when they're already sick.
Oh, good point.
If you had smallpox and they had a smallpox vaccine, the whole point of vaccines is to prevent you from getting sick in the first place. If you were to give someone an attenuated version of a virus that they already are suffering, it wouldn't help them in any way.
Okay, that's fair.
So they don't know what vaccines are, apparently. I think in other forms of media, I mean, like you want an antivirus.
Yes.
Which is hilarious that they wouldn't use that word because that has a double meaning for, computer stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fair. In the dub, instead of Lalamon accepting that her partner's dying, Lalamon pleads with Thomas to make her better. So it's just kind of weird that there's none of this pessimistic Digimon accepting the very possible death of her partner dying, and I don't like this.
No, it'll be fine though. It's Digimon. No
And
one ever
then
dies.
In the dub, they're also mentioning how the virus looks like it's spreading, which it's not. We're not given any reason to expect that it's spreading, except if they are maybe saying this is how she infected someone. Is that it's spread? I'm not sure. Back to Falcomon, he has a flashback of Akuto being unwell, and then there's a Yukiduramon, and she went off to somewhere called Wanderer's Cape. In the dub, Falcomon says that Keenan is not fun, and asks to come along with Frigimon, rather than saying how if she doesn't come back, he'll go alone. Also, Frigimon is also voiced by Izzy/Lucimon, but has a more feminine voice.
Really getting that paycheck.
Yeah, she's doing a great job this time. She's basically in every season, I think.
I have to admit that my first time reading Wanderer's Cape, it just didn't click right, and I read it as a magic item, the Wanderer's Cape.
Or the Wanderer's Cake.
I didn't say that. Like something you would wear, and it only occurred to me later on. Oh, Cape, like Cape Fear, or
yeah,
Cape
a location.
Town.
It's a location.
It is a location.
Not something you. I mean, you could put the city of Cape Town on your back.
And you wouldn't call it like a wanderer's thing, right? It does a cape that belongs to something, like to an individual, really sounds like an item. Whatever.
Well, I guess it could be Masaru's dad's cape.
See, that's sort of what I was thinking. So Lalamon's like, we should trust this bird because it thinks all humans are evil.
He hasn't showed up yet. So Agumon is because he's just having this flashback away from the cave.
How could he?
Agumon asks Galmon what being sick means, and he asks if it means they can't eat fried eggs anymore, and if it's as bad as being hungry. In the dub, Galmon says that someone that's sick can lose their appetite. And so again, as we mentioned in the last episode, there's a lot of the less mention of death, and they're basically saying the original living person can't do anything anymore. And what Agumon takes from that is they can't eat eggs, because what Galmon says is an illness is something that threatens life.
Threatens eggs.
Yeah, and Agumon just but life is eating eggs. And it's so cute, but they're basically discussing the fact that Yoshino could die, and this is what dying is. In the dub, they just ruin it and says, well, sick people lose their appetite. And Agumon's just emotional, saying, oh, but we have to make her appetite come back. And then Falcomon shows up and tells him about the Wanderer's Cape, which is not something you wear.
The Wondrous Cape.
In the dub, Marcus is a lot less trusting of Falcomon, and he also sounds a little bit more aggressive towards Falcomon. And during this time, Thomas is also mumbling the symptoms to make sure, instead of just looking over Ikuto and Yoshino, he's just basically saying, okay, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this too, because he's trying to compare the illnesses to see if Ikuto is just making it up.
I guess. I don't know. I don't trust his medical license at this point.
No one trusts his medical license at this point. He was wrong.
He doesn't know what vaccines are.
Falcomon explains that Wanderer's Cape is where humans used to live, and it makes Digimon really uncomfortable to be there. In the dub, Falcomon says that it's contaminated, which is a lie, because it's not.
Again, do they know what happens later in the season?
And it's also like, I kind of like the fact they don't go there, not because it's dangerous. It just makes them a little bit uncomfortable because humans were there. Like, it just makes them a little bit uncomfy.
Oh no, it's icky now. It's got cooties.
Not human
Humies.
cooties. It's got human cooties. Human cooties.
Oh,
Humans
did
are
you
the
hear the
champions.
Humies like the sauce?
Lalamon says that they can trust Falcomon because everyone's kind of like, I don't know. And Lalamon stays behind with Yoshino.
You know that owl that hates humans a lot? You can trust him for some reason.
No, but Lalamon recognises the face, and this is actually done quite nice, but it's also kind of subtle, is that when we first see Ikuto be infected, there's a shot where Lalamon's looking at Falcomon's face, and Falcomon is shaking. Like, he's so worried about his partner. And then there's another shot now where Falcomon sees the same look on, like, Lalamon sees the same look that Falcomon has as before. And then she says, we can trust him. And it's this beautiful little subtle moment of understanding that she has, like, he is also worried about his partner. He's not going to double cross us because he wants the same thing we do, his partner to be alive.
So Owlboy, walking with them, worrying about his partner being alive, mentions Yukidarumon, which I keep calling Frostbearmon because it's just easier.
Just call it Frigimon, that's the dub name.
It's also easier. I forgot until I watched the dub at the time. And Tom's like, what, did he die? And they're like, yeah. But Digimon don't die, do they? Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's so obvious that he's putting his foot in his mouth, and Tom's like, I don't know.
And in the dub, Thomas says, well, Digimon are reborn when they die, so...
Yeah.
We see a Blossomon show up at Marukimon's place, and he's saying how they can't just let humans wander around the digital world on their own. In the dub, Blossomon has the same voice as Lady Devimon and Garudamon in Adventure.
I didn't notice.
I did, and then I looked it up, and I was like, that confirms some things. Oh, and what I really like about Digimon is that they reuse voices.
Like Persona.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
And all of anime, actually.
Yeah, all of anime ever. It's like a BBC show. BBC only really has like 6 actors.
6 axis.
Masaru and Toma enter the house that's on Wanderer's Cape.
And Almon's totally not scared, promise.
No, he's a bit uncomfy. He's uncomfy. He's not scared. He's uncomfortable.
We don't go there.
Or he's contaminated. Either that or whatever. We find an old PC. And Toma tries to get into it. Masaru says it may have information on his dad. In the dub, Marcus says that the password might have something to do with his dad.
So, in the story we were given, the humans showed up and their camp was destroyed and they left, right? That
Yes.
was the story.
Yes.
How did they get all the way here and install a computer?
Exactly.
When in the past they were near a forest?
Exactly. Exactly, Jay. Exactly.
Also, it's weird there are computers in the digital world because presumably that creates a new digital world inside the computer.
Also, remember, we find out in this episode that humans killed Frigimon.
Supposedly.
Yes. So, if the humans left straight away, how would they kill Frigimon?
Yeah, I know. And I think it's just lies, right? I established the only way for any of this to make sense is humans have been showing up anyway. Even if they're not from the Japanese dats, then from somewhere. And those are all possibilities. But like, you know what would be really good questions? These exact ones coming from these characters. Shouldn't Thomas say they were here once 10 years ago and then they left? How is this all here?
Okay, no, I see a point there.
He has a PhD and a medical license, and you're telling me he can't figure out a simple question like that?
Or maybe there's just something that we're not thinking about. Maybe they did stay. Or maybe it's just implied to be Masaru's dad's.
It's not implied to be Masaru's dad because it is implied to
In
have
the
been
dub it
abandoned
is.
for a long time.
In the dub, Masaru just says, maybe it's something to have to do with my dad.
Yeah, but the dub's wrong. And also, it's weird they have like one vial of vaccine for this very specific disease.
It's very convenient there's one left and not none
Not
left.
labeled, by the way. So they don't actually know what it is.
Falcomon says it is what it is.
Even though he's not been there because it's icky and he doesn't like being there.
He's probably seen the bottle before and maybe they only have one bottle there.
Also, you'd think that each vial, whatever, would be a dose for one person.
That's what I thought.
So the fact that it can be shared head is weird.
It's really also convenient that it's enough for exactly 2, because we don't see the vial ever again.
Also, I guess a simple question is, how is it administered? Do they have to drink it?
Maybe it's for drink.
Because it didn't seem to have an opening to it.
I think they just look at it.
Huh, okay.
They should inject it into their eyes.
I bet this disease never shows up ever again.
I don't know.
Because it was only there to bond Almon and the kids.
To be fair, it's a great bonding of Masaru and Falcomon. It's great. I love it.
Sure it is.
Shut up, I'll fight you. It's great. It's great. Agumon finds a fridge and he says, "This is where Sayuri keeps the eggs." And it's so cute how hungry he is for eggs all the time. It's so great.
It always weirds me out looking back at these old seasons of Digimon and seeing all the stuff that Atmon stole.
Like what?
Fried eggs? Come on.
Oh yes, fried eggs.
No.
That specific Digimon
Like
thing.
an obsession with fried eggs.
No one has ever had an obsession with fried eggs before in their life. Who would eat fried eggs?
Okay, you've just said 2 different things. There's who would eat fried eggs? Oh, everyone. Who would have an obsession with fried eggs? Not that many people.
Apparently only Agumon and Ray.
What? But like, there's that, and there was the particular things about evolution. And there've been other ones in other seasons. I've gone, that's not the reason Atmon. That's something the reason Atmon. I can't remember them all now, but it happened.
I think you said Bokumon was just Gatchmon. When you first watched Frontier, you said Bokumon was Gatchmon.
I don't know who Pokemon is.
Oh my god!
Oh, Beakmon!
You forgot the only character we liked.
Right, yeah. He's got his similarities. And like, Atmon is really built up on all the best parts of it. And like, it's some things I'm really minor like this.
Like
but
the question that they got in Frontier, the start of the season, on their mobile phones.
What was that one?
They all got they got the question on their phone that they had to click yes to.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
the kind of thing I'm talking about.
But I think it's good. It's not in the way of saying, "Wow, Digimon have no original ideas. They're just ripping off each other." It was
I
kind of
never
like
said that.
Well done. They actually grabbed an idea that was good, and then they're using another season. That's good.
So anyway, Blossomon steals the vial of vaccine. It's vaccine. It's weirding me out. And Tom's trying to brute force the password. Why is he doing that?
It doesn't work.
That never works.
The computer gets destroyed anyway.
My favourite thing is
Waste
in
of
the English.
time.
Why did the DATS team need such high security? 1 password.
It's a very long password.
What makes that high security? Also, if he's from DATS, wouldn't he have been able to research this information ahead of time?
Well, it's a good thing that humans have never been into the digital world.
Yeah, it's a good thing he spent no time preparing whatsoever for this journey where he might die.
Yeah, Satsuma should have said, "Hey, by the way, you might run to a computer. Here's the password. It's 123."
Yeah, in fact, it has important data on it that we need you to bring back because we need to know about the digital world because we've almost never been there.
Like, as I said, I don't remember much, but what if Satsuma doesn't know about the Wanderer's Cape?
Do you know that Sayuri spent more time preparing for this than Toma did?
Sayuri's the best. She made so many eggs.
That's what I'm saying. The amount of time she spent making those lunches must have been more time than these kids spent combined preparing for this journey.
What I'm hearing is you say, "Wow, Sayuri's the best character. I wish she was my mum. She'd make me fried eggs for lunch."
No,
I want
that's
fried
okay.
eggs. I want fried eggs for lunch now.
No, she's cute, so I wanted to be one of my friends' moms so I could...
Don't do this to me.
What do you mean do this to you? What does that mean? What am I doing?
Don't.
I don't understand. I'm very tired. Still need to go to gym and it's almost 11. I'm dying. Man, I'm dying now.
Blossomon goes to attack Falcomon and Masaru sort of jumps in the way and says, "No, I'm your opponent." And Falcomon says, Why would you protect me?
Because we are comrades.
And Falcomon's like, "Oh, friendos." And it's
And
great.
he's instantly turned. Oh, I didn't know you thought I was your friend. Now we're friends.
It's like whenever someone says that I'm their friend, I kind of just go to this moment like, "Friend, yay."
Oh, fair enough. That is realistic.
Someone called me their friend today. I was just like, "Friend, yay!" I go kind of dumb too when someone says friend, so it's great. So Masaru tells Falcomon to go ahead because he'll take Blossomon and, Falcomon will bring the vaccine to Akuto and Yoshino because that's the mission.
I appreciate that Almon's like, what if I just give it to Akuto and leave? And Masaru's just like, that's not what a man would do. And that's the whole exchange.
Yeah, he says, "Men don't betray friends."
Which is very, very presumptuous. I said we were friends and thus we're friends.
Heart trapped.
Trapped.
You had a moment of friends and now we're friends.
Damn it, you got me.
You're trapped and now you have to not betray me.
We had a whole bit here where we cut to Yoshi talking to Lalamon.
Oh yeah, and this is what I was talking about before.
I think it's so weird that she doesn't talk to Ikuto and try to have a conversation with him about what's up with him.
I don't think Ikuto's actually animated in this scene.
But they don't try.
Well, to be fair, Yoshino's quite sick, and I actually like what she has to say. Yoshino turns to Lalamon and she says, "I'm sorry. I wish I was stronger." And it's this sort of moment of, she's just sad about herself that she's not strong enough. Like, she's not able to do this. She's not able to not get sick.
And Lalamon's like, but I killed all those spiders!
Did you
I
see
finally made us a worthwhile team!
I was useful!
Sunshine, ah!
Sunshine, ah! In the dub, Yoshi still says she's sorry, but then says that she's tired. And her voice is really weak and hard to hear, and it actually sounds like she's really, really sick, and it's actually kind of good voice acting. It's great.
So Blossomon blows up the computer somehow, even though I thought it was on a different floor.
Because he's very large.
And then I sort of defend myself in my notes here about how I thought this was Yoshi's Evolution episode. To be fair, Blossomon looks like something Sunflowermon would turn into.
We've met Blossomon before.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. Also, I thought its name was Rage Blossomon.
Huh?
Or Violent Blossomon.
Huh?
Like,
Because it's in the
name of the
title.
episode. I
like,
thought...
like you thought Gale Garurumon was the... Right, now I get
Well,
it.
Geo Greymon is this thing's name.
Okay, I get your point. You're right.
And that one's Mac Galmon, so why wouldn't Rage Blossomon be a thing?
Good point, good point.
So there's... They sort of get away, and they're flying, and Blossomon chases after them with the big helicopter pedals, which is nonsense. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And then, why not? Master jumps off the back and does a sweet big mid-air punch.
I think it's because he saw Mac Galgamon also be able to punch Blossomon. And he's just like, well, that's gimmick infringement. I'm going to do more damage, and I'm just a person.
Yeah, he does more damage than this perfect level Digimon. And then the flower dies. Because Mac Galgamon shoots it with a big gun.
And also, Rise Greymon is there too.
That is also true. So they get back, and Falcomon totally cured both of the kids, and then steals Ikuto and runs away.
And gave the vaccine to Yoshino first.
Yeah, but he can't talk to them and hash stuff out because that would solve the story too quickly. Also, Falcomon has a big bandage around his head, and I don't know who gave him that.
I like to think Toma did. Wait, he's not there.
Couldn't have been.
Lalamon did with her no hands.
I don't have hands!
Lalamon just sort of papped it on him, and he just sort of like, nyeh. Or we could have just said Ikuto, now he's better, did it?
No, but
Or Yoshino did.
Ikuto's still like weird, like he still like collapsed. And now he says like, I still want revenge though for Yukidarumon, and they're like, okay.
But friends though.
How can, and I sort of wonder how he can blame all humans for the death of Frigimon, given like, he must understand that not all humans did it, right? Because he couldn't be in a position where if a Digimon killed one of his friends, that he'd say, well, all Digimon are scum.
Well, actually, okay, so I'm going to mansplain this to you.
You don't have to.
I will, though. Alright, so, Humon, that's like the species of Digimon.
Okay,
Humon,
sure, yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I remember an adventure. We had just beaten Devimon, and we were in the next half. Not the Edamon arc, but the arc after that. So it's when Devimon shows up.
Yeah.
And you are criticizing Takeru, the 8-year-old, for trusting someone called Pico Devimon.
Yes. Okay.
Because you say every Devimon is evil.
Okay.
So
because his name is the Devil.
Yes, Devimon is evil because we love. But no, you specifically criticized Takeru because Devimon was the boss that they fought and gave Takeru a lot of issues.
Okay.
And now you were saying, why would he trust someone called Pico Devimon when he just fought Devimon and Devimon was evil and almost killed his wing ball, right? So, with your logic, why would Ikuto, someone who's not necessarily shown to be too bright, who basically calls the Digimon, like the humans, Humon, as in a Digimon as well, so he thinks humans killed Frigimon. Why would I trust Humon in any way because they killed my Frigimon?
It's an issue of degree. Where on one hand I say, you fought Devimon, and this thing's Pico Devimon, don't trust it. It's trying to convince you of something. Maybe take it with a grain of salt. Because maybe. You probably can't trust them. Okay, maybe that is profiling. On the other hand, what's Ikuto do? I hate them! Oh, they're a scourge on the digital world.
He
I'll kill them all.
His English isn't that good.
He wants them to die. He hates them.
Yes.
I would never expect TK to look at Pico Devimon and say, oh, I hate you.
That's because he's a good guy.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, I would never expect that to be the reaction. So if he said, oh, I don't want to talk to you because you're humans, that's fine. That's totally different to, yeah, you're the worst. You're a plague on the digital world, and you should all leave. It's about degrees. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
The dub has the best line at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And it is...
He came through after all.
Didn't I tell you? That guy's a man's man.
He's a bird.
It's great. It's just like every sassy line that Thomas delivers is the best. It's up there with, you're talking to a boat. It's great. He just said it was like, he's just like so exasperated by his dumb friend. He's just like, you are so dumb.
Absolutely.
Like, he is a bird. He's a bird.
Bird.
Not a man's man. What do you think of this episode as someone who is new to Digimon?
It was fine. I mean, I think that the questions about how did the humans leave all this stuff is interesting. It is a problem the characters don't identify it, but like, it's sort of one of those things where in the future you'll be able to look back and go, oh yeah, but it wasn't a mystery that was introduced officially, and so it kind of feels like they're treading water and being like, maybe we'll use this. I don't know. Maybe it's important. Probably not. Because, I mean, if you want to set up a mystery and have it be a mystery, you have characters ask questions. And those questions are important because you don't know what the answers are. Whereas in this case, only if the audience is paying attention do they ask questions. Because there's the other side of that coin is just, oh yeah, there's a computer there. Guess so. It just is. I'm not interested because the digital world's full of weird stuff. Like telephone boxes.
Right.
Seriously though, is there a second digital world in that computer? Because
I don't know, but that's a great question. That is a fantastic question.
every time Izzy brings his laptop into the digital world, it should be creating a new one. Because what's it accessing?
That's fair. I really like this episode.
That's fine. You're allowed.
What'd you rate it?
It's probably a 7 or an 8. It's up. It's better. Probably 7. Let's go 7.
I gave it a 7.
Yeah, 7's it.
I think I enjoyed this episode better than the last episode, maybe a 7.5. I think both these episodes this week were fairly strong. I feel like we got some good character development for all the characters. I guess except for Masaru, but we already got lots of episodes with Masaru, so we can just forget about him for a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't learn some things about him,
We
Masaru.
learned nothing about him, let's be honest.
But he continues to be great.
That's
like,
fine.
Friends are great. I'm a true man. I do not betray friends. I'm a big tough.
I'm a mimly man.
I will protect my little sister because I am the big brother, and it's so
Yes.
it's so cute. It's great. But we also get a bit of Yoshino about maybe her insecurities. We get to know what happened to Toma's mum and why he's a bit sensitive when it comes to family, especially mothers.
Stuff definitely happens.
Stuff happens. And we get a bit of a Kuto, and it's kind of great. And we actually start to learn why he hates humans so much.
Yes.
And it also implies maybe humans are lying a little bit. Maybe humans are completely to blame. Maybe they just came in and killed a bunch of Digimon.
And this is another good reason why you could have just gone and talked to Mikurumon. But no, we're here to fight him, I guess.
Yeah, so this is a good start to the Digital World arc. It's great. I'm enjoying it. How did this episode compare to your predictions in Obnoxious Synopsis?
Well, I thought that this would be the evolution episode, so I can say I was quite wrong.
The thing is, they're sort of spacing out their evolution episodes with one episode in between.
Okay. Well, I know what happens in the next one then.
Was this filler? Because I don't think it was because we learned about Akuto.
Yeah, and there's too much development of that relationship.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of plot, not a lot of filler in Savers for memory.
Yeah, but it might be one of those things where it's filler for 18 out of 20 minutes.
No, I feel like there's more filler episodes than Frontier.
There were like 10 at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, no, there are more filler episodes in Savers than Frontier, but the episodes that are plot are more plot than anything else.
Oh, that's good. Glad to hear.
What was the major difference that you noticed?
Oh, God, I really did not notice very many.
See, I noticed that, again, same with the last episode, so I guess these two episodes are good to have together, is that, again, they're avoiding the topic of death in the dub.
That was mine.
Like, no one brings it up.
He's just not hungry, right?
Yeah, in the original, just like, basically, Agumon's asking what's death? Like, what is sickness and what's death? And Gumon says, well, sickness is something that threatens life. That is saying it causes death.
No, it threatens eggs. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just threatens eggs. And it's just... And then Lalamon in the dub pleading for Thomas to make Yoshino better. In the original, she's saying, worst case scenario, she just doesn't get better. That's her saying, worst case scenario, she dies, and that's what's going to happen. That's just really dark, but I guess it's realistic. Like, you are in this world, and you can die, and I don't think other seasons really address the fact, besides, I guess, Prisoner in the Pyramid, when Taichi realizes, I could die, we don't get a lot of episodes that in Digimon that say, we could die.
Even the guy who's, like, really about to die, he was going to die in the real world.
Yeah.
He was totally fine in the digital world.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, like, question of, I'm going to die right now, aren't I? And that's something that I kind of like about Savers. They're addressing like, in previous seasons, we addressed, should we kill Digimon? And in Savers, they're just saying, hell yeah, we should kill some Digimon. I'm going to kill 6 right now with one attack.
You can't even see me kill them all.
It's got to be gnarly. So it's just,
God Zero 2 sucked.
But the one
God
good
Zero 2 was the worst.
But the one good scene that we liked in Zero Two was when they say
Skateboard?
we need to, yeah. Well, that was in that episode or around that episode
Yeah.
where they say, yeah, we have to tell them we can kill the Digimon now.
Because this
In
is getting stupid.
In Savers, they're not even questioning it.
Why would they?
Because, like, well, they become eggs, and even when we kill them in the real world, they become eggs.
I think that it was a lot less confronting in Savers to kill Digimon when you see that they become eggs. Whereas in Zero Two, you can at least go like, oh, well, the data flies off and you don't know where it goes.
Yeah. And also,
God, that series is awful.
in Savers, they're actively destroying buildings.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the big chicken is burning up a McDonald's. Guess we should
McDonald's.
stop it from doing that.
No, you can't kill it though.
I want to talk about the characterizations that we got.
Oh, I don't want to talk
because
about this anymore.
I feel like, as I said, I feel like these two episodes were quite good to have together. They question a lot of things like how invincible are humans in the digital world, and we find out they could just die, and we're questioning it. There's like this moment where we're sitting around, and Agumon is learning about death, and Galmon, who probably has heard some stuff from Toma being a doctor, he knows a bit about death, and Agumon doesn't. And then there's Lalamon, who's accepting the fate of her partner dying. It's very dark, and we even got a Kuto bit of backstory, so I really like that, and it's nice.
Sure, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it's that special, but I guess as the fan, you would be more aware of it than I would.
And also, I guess we already discussed that, so we don't have to dwell on that topic too much. However, something I do want to talk about, and I want Jay to also pay attention, and that's why I sent him the notes before this, so
I don't remember them.
We could participate in discussion for this, because this is something that I noticed, is that hospital scenes seem to be a thing in Digimon.
They're a thing in media because hospitals are notable. I don't think it has anything to do with Digimon.
How many hospital scenes did we get in Pokemon? We got like the second episode.
Every time they're in a Pokemon Center.
Yes, but no like actual serious death in a hospital.
Because the humans are never endangered Pokemon. That's not what the show's about.
I just want to say that
It's not what the show's about.
every season effectively has had a hospital scene, and all but an adventure had a death scene. So in Adventure, we had the hospital scene where Taichi's having some flashback because he's having some traumatic memories, and it's relatively similar to what we had in the first episode, was traumatic memories and reliving these memories. Taichi remembers how he forced his little sister when she was very sick to play football because he was like 5 and didn't know better, and she was like a toddler basically.
I don't need you to recount this whole thing. I know it's for the audience, but I really think you've overthought this.
But nobody died. And in Zero Two, obviously we heard Osamu, and from memory, I think he died in a similar way that Toma's mum died. Is that correct?
I wouldn't know. I don't remember Zero Two.
Good point.
Remember everything slowly slipping from my memory?
In Tamers, which you do remember because you didn't hate it,
Good luck with that.
is that we had Juri's mum. And this whole hospital scene was rather absurd because it's showing how much of a traumatic memory it was and how warped Juri's mind is at this point. And if we compare both these, the Savers one was quite realistic in the fact that it was just played out exactly how it happened. But in Tamers, it was this absurdity sort of, the doctors were really tall and everyone was repeating the same thing. People didn't have faces. Juri had the puppet for a face. It was this very sort of warped image of what she was experiencing.
And let's not forget Frontier with magic tears.
Yeah, and also we had Frontier where Koichi died and then came back to life. So
Also, Tamers had 2 because there was that old guy who was in the hospital when he was in his coma.
I forgot about him.
And he was in the digital world because of that.
Yeah.
I honestly don't... I know you think this is a big deal. I don't think it's a theme. I think it's that hospitals are a common part of the human experience. And they show up in media because of it.
Not in kids shows.
More than you'd think.
Not like this. Not as serious as Digimon though. I think Digimon does take it, especially Tamers. Tamers did a really good job of showing that scene in particular of Juri's basically out of her mind, and this memory isn't how it actually happened, and then she has the warped memory of her father.
There's another one in Frontier with Koichi's grandma.
Oh yeah, I forgot that too.
I just think they're things that show up.
Yeah, I was mainly thinking about the main characters or something that affected the main characters.
I think it's a stretch. Sorry, I can't help you.
Like, for example, Ken also tried to become more like his older brother after his death, or idolized him in that way, and noticed that his family seemed to, like, and this is what Ken thought, is that his parents wanted him to be the one who died instead of Osamu, because Osamu was the one who was the smart one. He was the genius. So Ken wanted to become the genius because he just felt normal. He felt boring. He just felt like he was nothing compared to his brother. So it was a sort of kind of similar in a way that it's like this It's also, I think it's the car. Why do I think it's a car that killed him? Maybe I'm misremembering it.
I have no idea.
I do think that Savers did it best, or Tamers. I feel like either of those did the best, because while Tamers did it in sort of a absurd, surreal, we are showing how unstable Jury's mind is, and this is how she actually sees this scene, and we are shown that even though, yes, she's being taken over by the D-Reaper, this is just her. This is still her mind. And she's going through a lot of things to do with fate, and this is impactful to the story. And then we have Savers, which also did it quite emotionally, but also did it in a way that was realistic. And we show that Thomas is frantic, and this is completely different to his previous character that he has, right?
Yeah, well, I still think you're overthinking it, so it doesn't matter.
And the reason why the Savers one is such an emotional scene is that, to me personally, is that we see such a rather sharp change from this rather sensible, level-headed, logical thinker to somebody, and as you said, who is doing something completely illogical, which is trying to chase after his mum, who he knows that this is a memory, and he knows that he is basically a ghost and is helpless, but he's still frantically trying to stop them, and even tries to stop the van as it passes through him. And this is an emotional scene. Like, it shows that it's such a switch between the logical thinker to this frantic, illogical person, and it shows how emotional he is and how much of a traumatic moment this memory is to him.
I can see that, although I honestly think that one of the bigger changes here is from that child self, which, how old would you say that little baby Tom is here?
I think he's a couple of years old, maybe I'd say 6 at most.
6 is an interesting one. This child is not getting a PhD and a medical license, right? Something happened between this and then in the course of 8 years.
We find out.
Where he managed to get a PhD and a medical license. Okay, if we find out, we find out.
Yeah, I know that much. I know that he does have inspiration to why he's becoming a doctor. He does have motivation.
Sure.
But we just haven't met it in the show yet. But there is a reason. But at the moment, no, he is effectively just a normal kid. And he lives with his mum in Japan.
It's weird because kids who are geniuses don't start out as just normal and then become geniuses later. Usually they start out as geniuses. That's how it works.
Unless he's younger than that. Unless he's 4 and it just... You don't know yet. But it's also not relevant yet. I said, 6 at the absolute most.
Seems like it.
Another thing I noticed is that from what we've seen so far, the children in Savers all have issues with family at some point. And
I wouldn't describe Masaru as having that.
Well, Masaru has no dad, and he sees himself as having to fill that role.
I wouldn't describe that as issues with family.
Well, I mean, like, he has something that's not a normal home life and could be potentially quite traumatic. I don't think he has traumatic memories about it. I feel like he uses it as motivation to become a better person.
I would say he has a surprisingly normal home life. Like, it's not a nuclear family.
Yes, because everyone's dad went to the digital world 10 years ago.
He didn't know that. His home life was not defined by that. It was defined by his dad just not being there.
He has the most normal of the home lives in this series.
I wouldn't know about Yoshi yet. Maybe she has an incredibly normal one and she just remembers an argument she had once. There's not enough evidence there for me to make a decision.
Then, of course, we know the one we found out this week was that Thomas' mum died in front of him when he was young, and his dad doesn't seem to be all that present.
Well, we don't know anything about his dad. It's never shown up.
Yes, and that's why that's worrying. This is a 14-year-old. Why is his butler always around, but his dad not?
You know, he's a businessman probably, or he's also dead. Maybe this same truck has been like a curse on the family, and it's like Knight Rider, but a living truck
just
that's also a
him
murderer.
Around.
Exactly. It's a
also,
wear truck.
Did that guy get arrested for killing a person?
Because
that was careless driving. That wasn't just like Tom and his mum weren't like basically in the wrong at all. The truck driver should have gone to jail, and I hope he did.
The likelihood is that they went to jail.
Yeah, because that's definitely manslaughter.
So
you killed a person.
It would be interesting if, like, in the process of Tom getting over his trauma, he would go to the prison and forgive the guy, or like say at least, I understand it wasn't your fault because of these reasons, or something.
Nah, it's his fault completely.
No, it is his fault. But
don't drive like an idiot.
Like, introducing that driver as a character is what I'm trying to say, or like even I don't know. There are ways you could have done it, and I don't know. You don't forgive the people who have wronged you.
Because he has time from now and the next episode to go back to the real world, even though they don't know how. I didn't say do it now. Oh, I thought you said literally the second. Okay.
What? Who said that?
I thought you meant like he goes there now. I'm like, yeah, there's no point. He can't get to the portal. He's just gonna like, hang on, guys. I know we have a mission and all, but like, I have to go somewhere.
I don't think I gave you that impression. But
what if it was just Marukimon in that van?
That would be super funny. That would be really really stupid.
Then we have Yoshino, who was crying over something, and then she says she hates her parents and sisters too in the dub.
I can only shrug and say, I guess I'll find out.
Ikuto's parents aren't explained yet, but they must be somewhere, right? Why is he in the digital world? How did he get here? Why is he there?
I wonder if his master is brother.
Does he look anything like Masaru J?
I don't know, he's young and he's got face paint on, who knows?
And black hair.
Masaru's dad could have banged the Frigimon and had a kid, right?
And there doesn't seem to be any of the main group who has really like a happy or 100% normal upbringing. I guess you could say Masaru.
That's what I've been saying.
But it's still like, even then it's still like, his dad disappeared 10 years ago. That is a sad upbringing.
He's been happy.
Your
He's been fighting.
Your dad disappeared when you were 4. You probably you're not too happy with that.
Okay, if Metal Phantomon can't bring up a trauma associated with it, that's bad enough that he doesn't have to invent something new. His childhood must have been delightful. Yeah, it sucks he didn't have a dad, but he did fine. I think what you're doing is minimizing the value of a single parent family, whereas I think he can have a perfectly fine childhood.
No, I'm just saying he is handling the fact that his mum lied to him and that his dad actually disappeared in the digital world, and he's handling that really well.
He is. I think primarily because it gives him the opportunity to punch things.
Yes, I also don't think that Masaru has too many thoughts going on in there.
No, not many. It's mostly just a speed bag.
It's mainly just punching. It's just like motivation for punching. I got a new motivation for punching. It's fine. And then I noticed in previous seasons, while each child did have a different family type, there was parents together with a sibling, divorced parents separated from sibling, only child, adopted only child, dead parent with step family, parents with older siblings that are looked up to, and lots of siblings. And this season is more or less the same. Like, we have Yoshino, who may or may not have sisters. Toma, who
true.
We don't know if he has siblings or not yet.
In the same way that Mimi has a brother or sister and a dog.
And a cat.
Yep.
Mimi has a huge family despite only having parents.
They'll get hit by trucks. This truck.
Yeah. This truck, gosh damn. This truck killed Mimi's entire family, except for her parents, because I guess Mimi's mum poisoned it or something. Or Mimi did. The dad didn't, though. The dad probably would have just tried to drive a golf cart into it. And this is something I really love about Digimon, is that all the families are relatively different. Like, they go through quite a lot of different tropes of families, and none of them seem too similar to each other. And the way that they act around their families is different enough. I really do appreciate the fact that they put so much time into writing how each family acts and how it's different. But
you say so much time. I don't think that's true. I think that's a 2-word description, like a 2-sentence description that you just see.
Though Adventure did very well, especially in, I believe that was Flower Power, when they were talking about all their families, and I think that's why we rated it such a good episode, because we have Koshiro talking to his family about how he's adopted but he's fine with that. We have Sora basically knowing more about how her mum loves her and her mum wants to rescue her and makes friends with Biyomon. We have Mimi loving her parents. It's great. It's such a good episode. And that was one of the few episodes we got that explained the parent situation. And it's nice. And we had Joe wanting to be like his brothers.
Yeah.
It's nice. And I feel like even though we had potentially sad upbringings with, Koshiro's parents dying and his new parents adopting him and they're still being his real parents, like Koshiro still calls his parents mum and dad because they're his mum and dad. It's not like as sad as watched mum die.
Then was rich and was a genius and had a great life.
Yeah, but watched mum die mainly, or had some traumatic moment that we don't know what happened yet, or dad disappeared.
They live in a surprisingly normal house, considering that he lives by himself in a massive mansion only 8 years later. I think this flashback might have been slightly lies.
No, I just think the dad is rich and possibly has issues. Also, Tom is a doctor and possibly very rich. Also, isn't he part of Austrian royal family?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So why are they in this weirdly modest house in this flashback? I didn't even think about it until now.
I think that's just the mum's house.
Okay, but wouldn't the dad be around if he had such a big happy family?
That's why I think the dad has issues.
Okay, but wouldn't they be in a big mansion because of that?
I don't know. Maybe find out.
Why would she ever?
Maybe you shouldn't talk about it. You've only seen a couple, 16 episodes at this point?
Oh yeah, that's not nearly enough to introduce things about this person's family and what's going on with their backstory.
Also,
we spent that whole episode about gambling.
While we're talking about family, what if Toma's father and Masaru's mother fell in love and got married, and Toma and Masaru were brothers? And we have this sitcom about the odd couple of Masaru just throwing his apple cores everywhere, and Toma's like, why is there an apple core in the recycling? And Masaru's like, I tried.
It's funny, but it's also so nonsense that I don't...
Were
you drunk?
No, my OTP is Masaru's mum and Toma's dad.
But we don't... I guess I have to find out who Toma's dad is.
My OTP. I ship it so hard.
Oh, okay.
It's it's also the odd couple, they're brothers. Imagine them being brothers and they all move into the Bigham's house.
And then they would never even see each other because the house is too big.
Yeah, but Masaru still wants to punch things. He just starts punching the walls. He's like, there are so many walls in this house, I could punch all of them and still have more to punch. It's my new OTPJ. They're brothers now.
I've actually got no words for you. That's really stupid.
Are there any other reoccurring themes in Digimon? I know you said that the hospital's not a recurring theme because it's a thing in
Do we
media.
have to talk about this on episode 16? Can we talk about it at the end of the season?
Well, we've covered many Digimon now.
Yeah, but why is now appropriate?
I mainly just want to talk about the fact we walked through a desert again.
Oh, okay, well that happened. Again, I don't think that's because it's a theme. I think it's because, like, it's easy to animate.
Okay, that's a good point. Also, it gives you a reason to make characters complain.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like whenever we've had characters complain, they've always been walking through a desert.
I don't think there are that many themes in Digimon. I think there are writing tools that get used over and over again. But I think that's out of convenience rather than, like, artifice.
For screenshot of the week this week, I have Agumon almost dropping the vaccine because he looks so concerned. To be fair, Falcomon did just yell at him.
I have
What's
Masteru
yours?
punching a big flower in the sky. It's awesome.
Well, to be fair, like, that was going to be mine, and then you sent me that as yours, and I was kind of like, okay.
And that's like, KO!
I guess I have a new one because Jay's not going to want to make a screenshot again.
Yeah, that's true. You got me.
Digimon introduced this episode. We have Metal Phantomon, the coolest Digimon design ever.
It's cool except for its staff, which is garbage.
I love him. I want to protect him. He's one of my favorite Digimon.
That's fine, you're allowed.
I have actually not my list of favorite Digimon isn't that long. But it has Metal Phantomon, Deramon, and Edramon on it. The coolest Digimon. Deramon's the coolest. He's a bird with a bow tie.
I'm aware of it.
So Jay had to leave, so what we're doing is I'll record Postmon Pat now, and also the outro, but it'll just be me, so hopefully that's okay for everyone. So, first of all, for weekly poll this week, the question was Aquilamon or Bergermon? First up, we have Ali Vorg, who said Aquilamon would be fine to Pyomon's line if Hawkmon didn't exist, but Aquilamon is so clearly designed to be Hawkmon's evolution that as soon as you know that, it becomes weird seeing it evolve from anything else. So weird enough, I like Aquilamon more than Bergermon. I'm going for Bergermon here. The bottom line is that Digimon evolution lines don't make any goddamn sense. This is probably throughout all of Digimon and is not specific to Savers. While we're here to talk about Digiperv, I like Pekmon's design. Fight me. I also like Pekmon's design. I mean, I said it was silly, but I like it in sort of like a silly way. Kyle says, I do prefer Aquilomon to Garudamon as an evolution line, but the problem becomes that Pyomon to Aquilomon just isn't good as Hawkmon to Aquilomon. It wouldn't have hurt anything to have Puchan be Hawkmon, but having a Pyomon feels lazy on Saver's behalf. I think they had Pyomon for the same reason they had Agumon, is that it's sort of like this nostalgic, hey, remember this Digimon? And now it's different, and sort of like it's a different Pyomon than before. However, I also think that, as Ali Vorg said, Aquilomon is better to have if it wasn't already an evolution from Hawkmon. And it does sort of fit Hawkmon better. But Aquilomon to Garudamon's not terrible, and, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Bergermon anyway. Then we had Hirolado, who said, to have to go with the Horned, Avian, Aquilomon, it's just an overall better design, and fits better with the Garudamon design-wise. So now we will go to the poll, and I also prefer Aquilomon personally. I mean, I don't hate Bergermon, but I think I just like Aquilomon's design better. And I also think that it would have been nice to have Hawkmon instead of Pyomon, because also Hawkmon was from Adventure 02 as well. And even though it wasn't Adventure, that's still nostalgic enough. So we'll just go to view the results. So we only had 10 votes for this weekly poll, so it's not, the weekly polls aren't doing too well lately. And the winner was Aquilomon with 6 votes. And of course, Pyomon having 4 votes. On Gmail, we have one from Embamoto, who, of course, thank you again, sent us that wonderful bit of fan art. And they say that Masaru's actions in episode 13 shouldn't have been rewarded with evolution. He was trying to protect his family, but he did in a reckless manner. And this should have led to a dark evolution, as it was similar to Takato, or had Rise Greymon reversed to a Digi-Egg after the fight. And that would have been good too, but I also felt like he wasn't forcing his Digimon to evolve to protect the family. It was more like his own sort of evaluation of himself, of not being able to protect his family. So I feel like if he said, no, you must be stronger to protect my family, that's forcing it on the Digimon. But instead, what we got was him forcing it on himself. So it's more like of a self-reflection rather than this is all my Digimon's doing, my Digimon has to be stronger, it's nothing to do with me. And then Embamoto also says, Keenan has the same English VA as Kulamon and Tommy from Frontier. Another one is from Ryuichi on Gmail, and he says, did May stumble across the reason Frontier kids survived Lucimon's attack head-on? They were in their human form, and therefore a Digimon attack could not hurt them. Ryuichi says that Tai also sounds the same in Try because it's similar to Joshua Seth's voice, so he didn't need to change it much to be an adult. Then Ryuichi says that Kenan should not speak in broken language because he was brought out with both Falcomon and Yukiduramon being fluent speakers. And I never actually realized this. And this makes me mad at why Akuto speaks in broken everything, because no human in the digital world being raised by Digimons should not speak fluent in any language, because Digimon are fluent in every language, right? Then Ryuichi asked, Jay can talk May into changing opinions and ratings. Can May do the same? No, Jay is far too stubborn to ever change his opinion on anything. Also, he's a lawyer, so he's basically trained not to give in to someone else's opinion. So it's physically impossible. Then we have Replica Rabbit, who says they enjoy the podcast and how it talks about the English and Japanese. And they just caught up. They also say they're annoyed that May said how Tamers is overrated. And well, I do say that that was my own personal opinion. I don't mind that people don't think that. I just think that while it may be the best series in Digimon, I don't think that people put it on a higher pedestal than it deserves. Like, people say that it doesn't have any problems, and it does have problems. Like, it does have things that it could have done better. And I feel like it's overrated in the fact that it doesn't go, I guess, far enough into being a good show. It is, yes, it's very good compared to the first seasons of Digimon. Like, is better than that, and it's better than Frontier, and it's probably better than Savers maybe, and it's better than Cross Wars. I think that people just think it's this flawless work of art, and I don't think that. But that again is just my opinion. So Replica Rabbit says that Tamers was mind-blowing at the time and left a mark on young minds. The first episode had a scary moment when Gilmon killed some mice and looks like he's going to do the same to Takato. And yeah, that was a good moment. However, the whole leaving a mark on young minds, I think that's also why people tend to put it on a pedestal, because it left such a huge imprint on kids' minds that the other seasons just didn't. It's because it was so different and so much darker and so much better than other seasons. So a lot of people have this like impression of Tamers that it is, again, we should aim for Digimon to be better than possible, right? And just Tamers does have some things wrong with it, but it's still a great season. But that's, again, my opinion. Then Replica Rabbit says it has Konaka's blog where he explains in English about working on Tamers. Other seasons don't have that. Then they say Savers isn't on Tamers' level of characterization and story-wise, but Savers has better villains. Tamers beat Savers with everything else though. And that's fair. Like, I'm looking forward to Jay experiencing the enemies in Savers, because I think they might be I feel like they've got good motivation compared to other seasons. On Tumblr, Trickster Holy Angel, who was previously IRL Yuya, says call out to Jay, who is not here. I'm sorry, he's not here. He had to go to gym because we're recording on a weeknight, because otherwise this episode would not come out this week. And she says Palmon having an injury after devolving didn't make sense, but also Jay complained that back in Tamers that Terriermon didn't have the scar on his face when he first evolved to Gargomon. And they said that they were listening to old episodes and got to episode 58, which was car lateral damage. And I remember him saying that, and I feel like I referenced that before, but I could be wrong. We then have a message from Ellie Vorg, who says that they were very bewildered to hear that Jeff Nimoy said he'd watched all of Savers before writing Data Squad. So far, they said they've noticed numerous things that seemed to them like the dub writers were definitely going episode by episode. There's lots of parts that are seemingly unimportant to the current episode, but are actually foreshadowed or relevant to later episodes, and the dub versions lose this meaning. There's also a big example of this in the change the dub made to how Digimon are affected by human emotions. There will be at least one major event later on in the series, which in the dub's explanation simply will not make sense. And if they knew about this in advance, they should have kept the explanation and the same as possible to the originals. All they can assume is that either Jeff had forgotten many details about the series who was writing the dub, or the main writing team was separate from him and he'd only vaguely oversaw it. I think the latter is probably the most possible there. I mean, we touched on this before because Jay had read this message before we covered this. And speaking of the emotions thing, episode 13 is a great example of how a dub's explanation for it doesn't work. In the original, Piermon being all vacant and out of it indicates that we're seeing the same kind of mindlessly influenced by human emotions that's been going on up until now. He enters the human world and starts rampaging because these residual emotions from the friendship with Chica, and they're causing him to search for the human world for this Chica, despite these not in the right mind enough to actually remember who she is. In the dub, it sounds like Biyomon is still himself. and just wants to see Kirsty again, because it wouldn't make any sense for him to be willingly feeding off those emotions and they shared, even if he'd still just be in his right mind and would still remember her. So the fact that he doesn't actually remember Kirsty in the end is complete nonsense. Another example in the dub is that changes seem fine now, but they're going to make less sense in the future, is that the government guy. In the original, he's part of the Ministry of Confidentiality. Not the military, but some kind of branch of the government dedicated to keeping Digimon a secret from the public, which is why he has influence over DATs, even though he's not directly connected to them. In the dub, he is instead just outright the director of DATs. Keep in mind, this seems unimportant for now, but this guy will show up again later, and his changed dub role almost certainly won't make much sense then. So that's fair. I think there are a few things that aren't quite there if you think that they are covering it with knowing it all in advance, but I still think that maybe Nimoy saw everything before, but the rest of the writing staff possibly didn't. Maybe the translators didn't. Maybe they changed a few things and Nimoy maybe didn't proofread it enough or didn't think, or maybe he just forgot. So there is a lot, and I guess we'll discuss that more as the series goes on. On With the Will, Shackmon says it feels that Toma has irritation suspicion of Mercurymon wanting to take over the real world. Pegmon's design so bad it's great. The way he runs around is unexpected. A change in episode 13 was in the English. The disbandment is threatened, but in Savers it seems to actually happen. And then in episode 14, Masaru seems to care more than Marcus when talking to his mum. And then, regarding Atmon episode 48, Eugen crying on command really twists the knife, and yeah, it does. On Slack, Genome says, regarding your Aquilamon-Piomon argument, it's very akin to if you have a wooden boat and gradually replace every piece of wood until all the parts are replaced, do you have your original boat or something completely different? Either way, Nom says he sides with me. Even if the data is changed, there's still a core that makes this Aquilamon an evolution of that Piomon. Most notable are his memories. If he was entirely new data, Chica would never have been relevant. I did think of a metaphor of May's sides. If a software of any sort got an upgrade, entirely new design, functions added, removed, changed, name changed, it would still be the same software because it is the basis of the previous version. It's not a form scratch thing. As for Chica's sensing that Aquilamon is Piomon, this may not be the best example, but I feel the need to bring it. Say there's an author you love and read all their books. Said author had taken a pen name and wrote a book with a completely different ideas. Maybe in another genre. When you read that book, you might get a hunch it's the same person, even without knowing how to pinpoint and why. I think it's the same with Chica and Piomon, a sort of bond that you would still recognize him. And that's a really good metaphor. It's a shame that Jade had to go to gym and not listen to this, but I'll definitely pass this part on to him, so maybe we get his thoughts next week and we get like a Postmon Pat. Alright everyone, join us next time for Cheese Sweet Home is Yoshi's Biggest Battle, the one with herself, or The Singing Voice That Calls Upon a Miracle, the Lalamon Evolution, and the clash with Marukimon, or The DATS Team Annihilated Clash, Marukimon. For Weekly Wonders this week, I'm going to plug something that I discovered about a week ago, but I forgot it existed until it came up on YouTube for Watch This Again. And it is this great little music video of all these different anime openings and all the cliched things like birds in the sky or the characters running. And I feel like it's really artistic and really on point, and I feel like everyone who is a fan of anime should watch it because I feel like it's not an insult to anime, like it's just showing you that yes, there are a lot of tropes in anime and it doesn't make it not unique, but a lot of people take it to this mean, oh, this is just an insult for anime not being unique, but like no, it's fine, and I think everyone should watch it. It's really great. And the person who did this video also uploaded another one which was unique anime openings, and they had sort of like the opposite and had all these things that were only done in unique anime, and some of the openings also were part of the cliched ones. So while some openings had cliched moments, they also had complete unique moments. So it's pretty great. The link dump's linked in the description, and you can also find our weekly poll linked in the description, which is, which season had the best death or hospital scene? Adventure, 02, Tamers, Frontier, or Savers? You can find our screenshot of the week and our weekly wonders linked in the description and in our link dump. Our Redbubble is also linked in the description, and you can get more than just shirts there too, and we have the new design which we mentioned a couple of episodes ago, so please check that out, that'd be cool. You can contact us and stay updated. You can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a discussion thread on With the Will and a Reddit thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we'd appreciate if you would review us on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever podcast listening service you use. We have a website, and you can vote in our weekly poll. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description and on our website, from as little as $1 a month. $1 a month gets you access to a listener Slack chat group. but higher levels gets you things like more rewards, like notes, early episodes, and more. And thanks to our Patreon supporters, Sam Krieger, who hosts a podcast called The Modcast, alongside other Patreon supporter Stevie, and this talks about Pokemon and Digimon. Stevie is also Stevie Patamon on Tumblr, and takes commissions. Wu Qinglong, who is on Twitch as Ru Qinglong, Metal Marmimon, Joe, Penguin Mage, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy, Kurosaki, and then the number 1 on YouTube, Chakmon, Ishpel Bamba, Hiro Alato, who is Hiro Alato on Twitter, Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who is Frost Moragic on Archive of Our Own, Stephen Reeves, who is at WildWing64 on Twitter, Kaidawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Chisai, who you can follow at Chisai236 on Tumblr, Corey, Kyle, Delady Bugman, who you can read his blog about anime on bagubaragu.wordpress.com, Smile Wolfie, who is on Tabaskic as Smile Wolfie, and has a comic called Eden of Melancholy, Tom, Glitchcoat, Azra McCall, Nicholas, Gene Hackmon, Matthew, Anthony, who is Andoclassic on Twitter, Lizmet, who is Elecmon on Tumblr, Sithobi, Alivorg, who is Alivorg on Tumblr, Sporky McForkenspoon, Megan, Kyliak, Neoboo, Jams, and The Time Optimus. You can also make a one-off donation on our PayPal, which can be found in the description. It's paypal.me/edgemon. Make sure to listen to the podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye.